Chapter 518. There were too many legends about that battle. Tang Zheng's name, which was not particularly well known among the general public, had become well known in ordinary balance after word of mouth had spread. Many people suddenly realized that he was the previous provincial college entrance exam champion. The Takashi that had been widely publicized by the media was actually an imposter. In addition, the fact that Tang Zheng had won the martial arts conference championship made many people's blood boil. This could explain why Tang Zheng had been able to create such a huge commotion in ordinary balance. The lighting that night was not good, so many people still did not see the mecha and the four symbols venerable. They only knew that Tang Zheng had gotten into a fierce conflict with someone very powerful. Of course, the residents that night had seen these two big guys, but when they said it, it was taken as an exaggeration. No one believed it. All in all, the details of that night's events had only spread to a small area. The general public only knew that ordinary balance had produced a very impressive young man, Tang Zheng. It was said that he had gone against the authorities. Many people did not think that there was anything wrong with him. Instead, they felt that he had the style of a chivalrous hero from ancient times, daring to risk universal condemnation. When they heard that he had returned to ordinary balance and that the authorities had not arrested him, many people were full of admiration. They all wanted to pay homage to this modern chivalrous hero. The entrance to the upper wind and upper water residential area was blocked by many people, but the security guards at the entrance were determined not to let them pass. Speaking of upper wind and upper water, this real estate development company had also suffered a lot. Last time, Tang Zheng had gone on a killing spree, turning this place into a living hell. It had really frightened many residents. Since then, many people had moved out of the residential area, and no one dared to buy a house here. Today, when they heard that this killing god had returned, the people in the real estate company were even more restless. They were deeply afraid that Tang Zheng would put on another show. If that happened, their company would really be in big trouble. Before they could sit down, a guest arrived at Tang Zheng's house. Deng Maokai stood at the door, cowering. He didn't dare to look straight at Tang Zheng because he had been severely reprimanded the last time he leaked information and was almost suspended. Today, as soon as Tang Zheng returned to ordinary balance, he was sent by his superiors to find out what was going on. The local officials of ordinary balance already knew that Tang Zheng was involved in a power struggle between their superiors. Those who didn't know what was going on didn't dare to touch Tang Zheng rashly. "Director Deng, you're here. Please come in." Tang Zheng revealed a trace of a smile and warmly greeted him. Because of his information, Lin Hu and the others did not fall into the hands of the Dragon Group, so he had a good impression of Deng Maokai. Deng Maokai was overwhelmed by the favor and nervously said, "Young Master Tang, I'm really sorry about the past. I was only following orders, so I took action against ordinary balance's underground world. The strike-down operation had destroyed ordinary balance's underground world. Tang Zheng was the boss of the underground world, so Deng Maokai was naturally afraid that he would blame him. Tang Zheng didn't mind and waved his hand, "You don't have to take it to heart. Let bygones be bygones. Moreover, the underground world is after all illegal. Banning it will allow our brothers to walk on the right path. This is also a good thing." If it was in the past, Tang Zheng might be angry. After all, this was a foundation that he had single-handedly built. But now, he wanted to thank everything. The enemy was so quick to cut the Gordian knot and destroy this gray world. In the future, he would no longer be the boss of the underground world. That identity was no longer attractive to him. Instead, it was a burden. Everything he wanted could be obtained openly. He had the strength, so there was no need for him to do the opposite. His future career was on the right path. With sufficient funds and Mu Hongyan at the helm, he was completely confident that he could establish a business empire. This was much more meaningful than being the boss of the underground world. Deng Maokai looked at him with suspicion. These words were really out of his expectations. He couldn't judge whether it was true or false. After observing for a while and confirming that Tang Zheng wasn't angry, Deng Maokai sighed in relief and said, "Young Master Tang, this time you returned to ordinary balance. Has everything been dealt with? There are some things that you don't want to know, so as to avoid bringing trouble to yourself. Deng Mao Kai shrunk his neck and understood. If young Master Tang needs anything in the future, please don't hesitate to tell me. Seeing Tang Zheng so calm, Deng Maocai's heart finally returned to his stomach. The stronger Tang Zheng was, the more benefits Deng Mao Kai would have. But seeing that the other party's family was reunited, he tactfully didn't disturb them and hurriedly said goodbye. Chief Deng, there are so many people outside the neighborhood. Please deal with them. Tang Zheng didn't want to be a panda surrounded by onlookers. His principle was to keep a low profile. Okay, deal with it immediately. Deng Mao Kai happily returned to report and sent people to disperse the onlookers at the entrance of the neighborhood. After Chongheng City's municipal government heard Deng Maocai's report, their hearts finally relaxed. It was almost the new year. If another incident happened, they wouldn't be able to keep their official positions. Of course, Tang Zheng was like a ticking time bomb that could explode at any time. They desperately wanted Tang Zheng to leave ordinary balance, but no one dared to order him around. Kai Guibin had already left. It was said that he went home to visit his family and made an appointment with Tang Zheng to meet after the new year. Therefore, only Fang Shishir and Linger were left in Tang Zheng's house. These two beautiful girls attracted a lot of attention on their way back. Linger and Fang Shishir had an extra touch of otherworldly temperament. They were like fairies that didn't eat the food of mortals. Both of them had their own merits. Looking at the two of them, Tang Zheng had a dazzling feeling. Shishir, your parents are very worried about you. I'll send you home first. Tang Zheng said. Fang Shishir and Tang Zheng had been separated for a long time. Moreover, after experiencing this incident, it was even more difficult for them to part. She reluctantly said, I'll stay at your house first. Otherwise, what if the people from the dragon group come? I want to go through thick and thin with you. Seeing the deep longing in her eyes, Tang Zheng couldn't bear to refuse. He nodded and called her parents to inform them. Then he stayed at home. Master, where will Linger stay at night? Suddenly, Linger asked with wide eyes. She didn't feel guilty about being a third wheel. Tang Zheng slapped his head. How could he forget about Linger? This house only had 2 bedrooms. How could 4 people live in it? Fang Shishir originally wanted to whisper to Tang Zheng and do something intimate. But she suddenly realized that it was impossible. She couldn't help but feel a little dispirited. You and Shishir can live together. There was no other way. Tang Zheng could only arrange it like this. He could only temporarily ignore Fang Shishir's resentful eyes. Let's go buy daily necessities and clothes. We don't have anything at home. Fang Shishir suggested. Tang Zheng glanced at Linger's dress. This girl was unaffected by cold and heat. She was wearing a thin green dress that occasionally revealed her smooth white long legs. No wonder she attracted the most attention on the street. This was winter. Although it didn't snow much in ordinary balance, the temperature was only 4 or 5 degrees. Dressing like this was really called not caring about the temperature. Well, let's go buy clothes. Shall Bai, Gui Qiansui, you two stay at home and protect Grandpa. Tang Zheng took the 2 beauties to the street. Suddenly, the number of people who turned their heads skyrocketed. Fortunately, Tang Zheng had already experienced the feeling of being the center of attention. Otherwise, he would definitely feel like sitting on pins and needles. The 3 people just arrived at the entrance of a shopping mall. Suddenly, a person jumped out from the side and blocked the 3 people's path. Tang Zheng's heart trembled. He wanted to attack the other person, but found that this person's face was somewhat familiar. He seemed to have seen it somewhere before. Wow, fairy. This image, this temperament, as gentle as jade. You're definitely the star of tomorrow. Kung Fu bro, you really give me a big surprise every time. This beautiful girl, hello, my name is AI Me. You can call me Sister AI Me, the other person spoke as if they were familiar with each other. His pair of eyes rolled around Linger's body. Looking at his sissy appearance, and a man calling himself Sister Aimi, Tang Jing rolled his eyes and finally remembered who he was. In the beginning, after Tang Jing won the martial arts convention, he was called Kung Fu Bro by the people on the internet. This sissy came to him and said that he wanted to package him into a star. Tang Jing was not interested at all, so he ignored him. Who would have thought that this sissy would not give up and found ordinary balance? He really has perseverance. Aimi looked at Linger with shining eyes. After a while, she looked at Fang Shishir and said, "This beautiful girl's temperament is also excellent. It's a different kind of beauty. She has a trace of intelligence. She will definitely become famous if she is carefully packaged. Kung Fu Bro, now I finally believe that birds of a feather flock together. The people around you are too suitable to walk the path of a star." Aimi was very excited, but looked at Tang Jing with a bit of bitterness. She sighed and said, "But, Kung Fu Bro, I have to say that you wasted your previous popularity. If you had debuted a few months ago, you would have become even more popular. But now it's not too late. With my sister Aimi taking care of everything, you will definitely become popular all over the country and go to the world." Fang Shishir and Linger were confused. They did not know what was going on and looked at Tang Jing blankly. "Stop." Tang Jing did not know whether to laugh or cry. He waved his hand and interrupted Aimi, "You really are persevering. Why did you come here again? Isn't it all because of you? You really don't have a conscience." Aimi pointed at Tang Jing and complained. Fang Shishir looked at the two of them strangely. If she did not believe that Tang Jing was a normal man, she would have suspected that there was something going on between them. Aimi looked like a resentful woman who had been abandoned after having sex with her. "Hey, you have to make it clear that I didn't do anything." Tang Jing was speechless. Talking to this sissy is really infuriating. I was kind enough to want to keep you, but you avoided me and you still have the nerve to say that you didn't do anything. Hey, what do you mean keep me, fuck? Looking at the strange gazes around him, Tang Jing was embarrassed. He could accept being kept by a woman, but being kept by a man, he would rather die. Chapter 519. Tang Jing didn't want to be surrounded like a panda. He grabbed one in each hand and strode towards the mall, saying, "I'm not interested in the dream of being a star, don't bother me. Hey, Kung Fu Bro, you can't waste this opportunity. Otherwise, it'll be hard to package you in the future. Besides, being a star is very profitable." Aimi hurriedly chased after him, unwilling to let the prey in her hands run away. Tang Jing turned a deaf ear to her, but Linger turned her head to look at Aimi and curiously asked, "Master, are stars the people who sing on TV?" "People who sing are a type of star," Tang Jing casually said. Linger's eyes lit up and exclaimed, "Wow, being a star and being able to sing is really great." Aimi was overjoyed when she heard this. She trotted over and said, "Beauty, your voice is very clear and has a lot of texture. It's very suitable for singing. In the future, you'll definitely be able to produce best-selling songs." "Really?" Linger asked innocently. "I promise." Aimi patted her chest. Sister Aimi will definitely fulfill her promise. When Tang Jing heard this, his heart skipped a beat. Aimi used to like listening to songs. Because of this, she almost scared her grandfather. Could it be that she really has a soft spot for singing? Looking at her expectant eyes, Tang Jing stopped and asked, "Linger, do you really want to be a star?" Linger opened her eyes wide and cutely said, "If being a star can sing, then Linger wants to be one." Tang Jing frowned. Linger had a simple heart and was inexperienced. The entertainment industry was a big vat. Linger was like a piece of delicious food. Those hungry wolves in the entertainment industry would not give up on her and would easily take advantage of her. Moreover, her identity was special. If she was not careful and her identity was exposed, then there would be even more trouble. When Linger saw Tang Jing frown, she thought that Tang Jing was angry. She hurriedly waved her hands and said in a panic, "Master, Linger is no longer a celebrity. I won't sing anymore. Master, don't be angry with Linger." As she spoke, tears welled up in her eyes, making her look extremely pitiful. Ai was shocked. This beauty actually called Kung Fu Bro master and cared so much about his attitude. What is their relationship? Moreover, it wasn't easy for him to find such a promising future star. How could he let him go? Thus, Ai hurriedly persuaded, "Kung Fu Bro, I'm sincere. I'll definitely make her popular. Linger, don't be sad. I'm not angry." Tang Jing tightly grasped Linger's hand and explained. Linger was relieved. She patted her chest and said with a smile, "Then Linger can rest assured. From now on, Linger will always be by Master's side and serve Master." These words were like the attitude of a maid without status in ancient times towards her master. Ai's eyes almost fell out of their sockets. Even though Fang Shishir knew Linger's background, seeing her so dead set on Tang Jing, she was also amazed. Beauty, people must have their own ideals and opinions. Moreover, this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Ai did not give up and persuaded. He didn't believe that there was no girl in this society who didn't want to be a star. Being rich and famous is a good thing that many people can only dream of. But it was clear that Linger broke his fixed thinking again and again. Linger pouted and said impatiently, "I already said that I don't want to be a star. Why do you still want to persuade me? Do you really want Master to be angry with me? Humph, you're such a bad guy. I'm not talking to you." After saying that, she turned her head in a fit of pique as if she didn't want to see Ai's face. Ai was flabbergasted. In this modern society, there was actually someone who was so obedient to others. He felt like he had returned to the olden days. Moreover, Linger was such a beautiful girl. He thought with bad intentions, could it be that Kung Fu Bro had some unusual training methods? If that was the case, then he would really be struck by lightning. To be so ruthless to train such a fairy-like person, how heartless would he have to be? Ai had mixed feelings and was incomparably depressed. He truly understood what it meant to be defeated. In fact, he used to be a gold medal manager in the entertainment industry. It was because he once offended an entertainment tycoon that he ended up in this miserable state. He didn't have a single artist in his hands and finally found a gem like Tang Jing. However, Tang Jing had no intention of entering the entertainment industry. He originally thought that his luck would change today and he would pick up another gem, but he didn't expect to be defeated again. "No, I can't be looked down upon by those people. If I miss this opportunity, I won't have a chance to make a comeback. Out of these three people, I must grab one." Ai silently made up his mind. He turned his gaze and stared at Fang Shishir. But before he could speak, Fang Shishir understood and waved her hand. "Sorry, I'm not interested in the entertainment industry." Ah! Ai really wanted to scream. "Do you still want me to live? Why is God so cruel to me?" It was like a person who was about to die of thirst in the desert and suddenly saw a pool of water. But when he walked closer, he realized that it was a mirage. Everything was not real. How could this not make people collapse? Ai was in a daze. He looked at Tang Jing bitterly and said, "Brother Kung Fu, is there really no room for discussion?" Tang Jing glanced at Linger and said, "Leave me your phone number. I'll go back and think about it." What made him change his attitude was the look in Linger's eyes. She was obviously too passionate about singing. She only had the opportunity to transform into a human after cultivating for so many years. Since she came to the world of mortals, if she didn't experience something she was interested in, wouldn't it be too boring to live? Moreover, Tang Jing still hadn't thought of a way to arrange for Linger. Although she transformed, her cultivation wasn't high and she couldn't help him much. Why not let her live a happy life according to her own wishes? Who knows, maybe she could really become a big star in the future. Hearing this, Linger revealed a trace of surprise, but there was a hint of joy between her eyebrows. Amy's expression was especially exaggerated. She was wild with joy and directly threw herself at Tang Zheng. She looked like she really had the urge to kiss and offer her body on the spot. Tang Zheng quickly dodged Amy's enthusiasm and said, "You can go back. We still have to go shopping." Amy didn't mind at all and hurriedly nodded and bowed. "This is my business card. You guys go ahead. Remember to think about it and call me. I'll be at ordinary balance for a while." Tang Zheng hurriedly brought the two beauties into a nearby clothing store. Fang Shishir and Linger were both clothes hangers. They could wear any clothes with a unique temperament, so clothes weren't difficult to buy. Seeing Linger enter the fitting room to change, Fang Shishir asked curiously, "You really want Linger to enter the entertainment industry?" "The entertainment industry's reputation isn't good, but if she's interested, it's not impossible." "Hee, you're quite accommodating to her. But such a beauty is really hard to refuse. You're also beautiful." "Right, speaking of clothes, I prepared a special set of clothes for you. I'll give it to you when we get back," Tang Zheng said. "You prepared a gift for me?" Fang Shishir was overjoyed. "What is it?" "You'll know when the time comes." Tang Zheng pretended to be mysterious. "Hee, you know how to keep me in suspense. Did you also use this trick to trick other girls in school?" Fang Shishir pinched the flesh on Tang Zheng's waist and said with a smile. "No, absolutely not," Tang Zheng said with a straight face. "Really?" Fang Shishir smiled faintly. "Yi Dingdang has been coveting you for a long time." Tang Zheng looked embarrassed. The matter between him and Yi Dingdang couldn't be explained clearly in a few words. Moreover, the two of them had experienced so many things together. Their relationship was really growing day by day. However, Tang Zheng wasn't stupid. He couldn't say that another girl was good in front of another girl. Suddenly, Linger walked out of the fitting room and circled in front of Tang Zheng. She happily asked, "Master, do you think I'm beautiful?" "Beautiful." Tang Zheng instinctively wanted to praise her, but his eyes were fixed. Linger was wearing a light green woolen coat and a shirt underneath. However, there were two obvious protrusions on the shirt. It was very conspicuous. Linger didn't notice at all. Instead, she moved closer to Tang Zheng and asked, "Master, is Linger beautiful?" Protrusions. This scene was too exciting. Moreover, she was already quite open-minded, so this scene was even more prominent. Fang Shishir glared at Tang Zheng and hurriedly said, "Linger, let's go into the fitting room. There's a big pervert here." "What's a pervert?" Linger innocently asked, but Fang Shishir had already dragged her into the fitting room. Tang Zheng let out a sigh of relief. This was a test of his endurance. Fortunately, there was no one else nearby. Otherwise, if they saw this beautiful scene, Linger would be at a disadvantage. Linger doesn't seem to have any underwear. The dress from before was a bit big, so I couldn't tell. Now that she's wearing this tight garment, her true colors are revealed. In the future, I must teach Linger how to protect herself. Not long after, Fang Shishir came out. Her face was red, and she quickly closed the door, as if she was afraid that Tang Zheng would peek. She glared at Tang Zheng and said, "Just now, your eyeballs were about to fall out. You guys are really perverted." Tang Zheng didn't know whether to laugh or cry. He cried out that he had been wronged. He really didn't have any romantic thoughts just now. It was just pure shock. "Watch over me. I'll be back soon." "What are you going to do?" "Buy clothes." Seeing Fang Shishir quickly walk into a lingerie shop not far away, Tang Zheng seemed to wake up from a dream. She was going to buy lingerie for Linger. "Master, did I do something wrong?" Linger's voice floated out. She was a bit nervous. "Linger, don't think too much. You didn't do anything wrong. Then why would Big Sister Shishir be angry? She even said that I should be on guard against you. You are Linger's master. Why would Linger be on guard against you?" This little girl's brain simply couldn't understand these questions. Don't listen to her nonsense. There are many rules in this human world. You'll slowly get used to it in the future. Tang Zheng said perfunctorily. Oh, Linger is very stupid. Master, please don't despise Linger. Linger will definitely work hard and not be so stupid. Tang Zheng couldn't help but laugh. Linger wasn't stupid at all. She just lacked life experience. After comforting her for a while, she finally stopped feeling uneasy. Fang Shishir also carried a bag of underwear into the fitting room. Tang Zheng couldn't help but think, without trying it on herself, how could she know the size? Could it be that she measured it with her hands? Chapter 520. When the three of them returned home, Fang Shishir would occasionally look at Tang Zheng with a strange expression. The sky was dark and the old man had already prepared dinner. The few of them ate together and Linger took the initiative to help clean up. Fang Shishir did not want to fall behind as in front of the elders, she could not be lazy. Little Zheng, come to my room. I have something to say to you. Tang Dahai called his grandson into the room and said sincerely. Little Zheng, after experiencing this incident, I know that your life is destined to not be ordinary. Grandfather is often your concern, so I will go to the countryside to find a place to live. This way, those bad people will not be able to find me and I will not be a burden to you. Tang Zheng did not expect his grandfather to say such words and his eyes widened in shock. He did not hesitate to deny, Grandfather, I will not let you go to the countryside. You have lived in ordinary balance for decades. Every blade of grass, every tree, every street, every building, you are familiar with it. How could I let you leave ordinary balance? But my goal is too obvious. I do not have the ability to protect myself and will only become a burden to you. The old man earnestly said. No, Grandfather, you have never been a burden to me. You are one of the closest people to me in this world. Without you, there would be no me. I will not let you leave. I want you to be happy and live a carefree life. If anyone wants to hurt you, I will definitely make them regret being born into this world. While speaking, his body involuntarily emitted a powerful aura. This aura combined with the aura of a dragon was especially intimidating. The old man could not help but have the urge to look up. I know you have filial piety, but, Tang Zheng immediately interrupted, no buts. Seeing Tang Zheng so determined, Tang Dahai helplessly let out a long sigh. It could be considered a compromise, but his heart was somewhat gratified. His grandson has been sensible since he was young. Now that he has grown up, he has his own opinions and is similarly filial. He is not like other people who raised an ingrate. When I was caught, Shishir did her best to protect me. If it were not for me, she would not have been caught. You must treat her well in the future. Tang Dahai warned. I understand. I don't know much about you young people, but you have to remember one thing. As a person, you can't have a guilty conscience. Otherwise, you will be criticized by others. Tang Zheng nodded heavily. Grandfather, I will always remember your teachings. Tang Dahai quietly stroked his grandson's hair and nodded with a gratified smile. After helping his grandfather to sleep, Tang Zheng gently closed the door, only to find that Fang Shishir and Linger were sitting on the sofa watching TV. Linger stared at the TV and asked Fang Shishir questions from time to time. She was full of curiosity about many things. Is Grandpa asleep? Fang Shishir turned around and asked. Tang Zheng sat beside her and casually hugged her waist. She twisted a few times and muttered, Linger is beside us? Linger's attention was on the TV and did not notice the intimate actions of the two. It's okay. Tang Zheng did not make a move. Fang Shishir did not escape from his evil claws and let him take advantage of her. The two reunited after a long time and experienced a life and death situation together. Fang Shishir's mind had always been tense. At this moment, she was completely relaxed and could not help but lean into Tang Zheng's arms. She felt particularly warm and safe. Their ears and temples rubbed against each other. Their bodies gradually warmed up. Fang Shishi's breathing quickened and her face flushed. She glanced at Linger, who was unaware of it, and felt embarrassed. If it were not for this third wheel, the two of them could have done a lot of things. I'm going to sleep first. Fang Shishi's heart was aroused. She even felt Tang Zheng's reaction. She was afraid of creating an even more awkward situation and quickly stood up. Tang Zheng also suppressed the charming thoughts in his heart and said, Linger, you should also go to sleep. Oh. Linger stood up obediently. Master, Linger is sleeping on your bed. Where are you going to sleep? I'll sleep on the sofa. How can that be? You should also sleep with me. I think the bed is quite big. The three of us should be able to sleep on it. Linger said innocently. Tang Zheng's head thumped. This girl's suggestion was too wild. However, it was obvious that she did not have such thoughts. Fang Shishi speechlessly rolled her eyes. She glared at Tang Zheng and hurriedly pulled Linger into the room. She was afraid that she would say something shocking again. Tang Zheng bitterly smiled and shook his head. He lay down on the sofa and covered himself with a quilt. In a daze, Tang Zheng found himself lying on a large bed. On his left was Fang Shishi and on his right was Linger. The two of them breathed out like orchids and wrapped around Tang Zheng like water snakes. Not long after, the three of them were naked. Tang Zheng was intoxicated by their attractive bodies. Suddenly, he did not know who pushed him. He found that the person in front of him disappeared. He opened his eyes in a daze and a beautiful face appeared in front of him. What are you talking about? Fang Shishi asked. Ah. So it was just a dream. That dream was too erotic. Looking at Fang Shishi who was so close to him, he could not help but feel a little embarrassed. He actually dreamed of sleeping with her and Linger. This was too ridiculous, but it was quite exciting. This must be because the words that Linger said before she tried on clothes during the day left a deep impression in his subconscious. That was why he had this kind of dream. Do I really want to do that in my bones? Tang Zheng coughed in a low voice to cover up his embarrassment. He said in a daze, nothing. Why are you up? I'm going to the bathroom. If there's nothing else, go back to sleep. Fang Shishi walked into the bathroom. Tang Zheng stared at the bathroom door. He did not feel sleepy at all. He heard the faint sound of running water and the evil fire in his heart gradually rose. He sneakily got off the sofa and walked towards the bathroom. He gently twisted the door lock. It was not locked and the door opened. Ah! What are you doing? Fang Shishi opened her mouth in surprise. Hee, I also want to go to the bathroom. Hurry up and get out. I haven't put on my pants yet. What are you afraid of? It's not like you haven't seen it before. Pervert, don't talk nonsense. Aya, what are you doing? Don't be naughty. How could he let go of a sheep that was already in his hands? Although the walls had ears, it could not stop the fiery passion of two young people. Moreover, most of the time, they were asleep. Tang Zheng decided to take the risk. Not long after, there was a slight panting sound in the bathroom. You pervert, bad guy. You only know how to bully people. After a long time, Fang Shishi tiptoed out of the bathroom. Her face was flushed and her eyes were like spring water. She was extremely flirtatious. Tang Zheng followed behind her with a smile on his face. However, Fang Shishi rolled her eyes at him. Seeing his proud look, she pinched his waist a few times and said coquettishly, "You're getting bolder and bolder." "It's love," Tang Zheng said with a smirk. "Fortunately, we weren't found out. Otherwise, how can I face people in the future?" Fang Shishi complained. "It felt good just now. Why don't we do it again in the bathroom in the middle of the night?" "Get out, pervert." Fang Shishi suppressed her pounding heart and quickly walked into the bedroom. Tang Zheng, on the other hand, was satisfied as he lay on the sofa and fell asleep. The next day, just as Tang Zheng opened his eyes, there was a knock on the door. Knock knock knock. Tang Zheng jumped up from the sofa and rushed to the door. He looked through the peephole. It's not the enemy. It's Fang Shishi's parents. Uncle, Auntie, good morning. Why are you here so early? Tang Zheng opened the door and looked at the two people curiously. Yesterday, when they came back, Ordinary Balance called them to inform them that Fang Shishi was staying at their house. But Shi Mengqin didn't sleep well last night. Her daughter escaped danger and didn't go back to her own house. Instead, she stayed at Tang Zheng's house. What was going on? Yesterday on the phone, she was about to get angry but was stopped by her husband. But after lying on the bed for an entire night, her anger burned even more fiercely. A girl who hadn't even married into the family yet was staying at the man's house. What kind of scandal was this? Although young people nowadays advocated freedom and the two of them had stayed together in the Fang family, they had already done what they should and shouldn't do. Shi Mengqin also adopted the attitude of opening one eye and closing the other. But this time was different. Fang Shishi stayed at Tang Zheng's house overnight. If the elders of the Tang family saw this, what would they think? Wouldn't they look down on her daughter? The more she thought about it, the angrier she got. Thus, she ran over early in the morning to denounce them. Where is my daughter? Shi Mengqin curiously asked. She's still sleeping. I'll go call her. Uncle, Auntie, come in and sit. Tang Zheng politely greeted. Fang Chonghua nodded towards Tang Zheng. He was more open-minded and didn't make a fuss over nothing like his wife. Moreover, when he saw Tang Zheng again, he found that the other's temperament had changed a lot. Imperceptibly, there was an additional sense of dignity. This was something that shouldn't be present on a 20-year-old youth. However, thinking about Tang Zheng's experience and ability, Fang Chonghua felt relieved. This cheap son-in-law of his couldn't be measured with common sense. I don't need you to call. I'll go see for myself. Shi Mengqin took large strides and rushed to the bedroom. The one on the left. Tang Zheng reminded. Bang! Shi Mengqin pushed open the door and suddenly stopped. She let out a scream and stared dumbfoundedly at the bed, unable to speak for a long time. Seeing this, Fang Chonghua immediately rushed over. Mengqin, what's wrong? Don't come over. Go over there. Shi Mengqin pushed her husband away but looked at Tang Zheng with eyes that were about to spit fire. She grabbed onto Tang Zheng's clothes and angrily said, Tang Zheng, so you are this kind of person. You beast, you actually dared to do this kind of thing to my daughter. I'll kill you. Finished speaking, she fiercely grabbed at Tang Zheng's face. Tang Zheng was shocked. What the hell? What did I do to make her so angry? He nimbly dodged Shi Mengqin's fingers and said, Auntie, if you have something to say then say it. Just what is going on? You still have the nerve to say it. You rogue, I really misjudged you. You caused my daughter to be so miserable. Shi Mengqin bitterly complained. Chapter 521. Tang Zheng was burning with anxiety, thinking that something bad had happened to Fang Shishi. Ignoring Shi Mengqin's attempts to stop him, he forcefully charged over. You're not allowed to look. Shi Mengqin loudly shouted. Tang Zheng had already seen clearly and let out a sigh of relief, but he did not know whether to laugh or cry. The large bed was laid out with two pairs of shining white thighs stretched out of the blanket, entangling together. It was truly a nosebleed scene. Without a doubt, Shi Mengqin had misunderstood. Seeing her daughter and another girl lying on the bed like this, she must have thought that Tang Zheng had slept with the two of them last night, and had a threesome. Fang Shishi and Linger were also woken up. Opening their sleepy eyes, Fang Shishi's face was especially rosy. Her lazy appearance was filled with boundless charm, clearly having been nourished. As an experienced person, how could Shi Mengqin not be clear? She firmly believed in her own judgment. Hating iron for not becoming steel, she glared at Fang Shishi and shouted, Shishi, come here. Fang Shishi sleepily rubbed her eyes and asked in a daze, Mom, why are you here? You still have the nerve to ask? How can you be so shameless? Shi Mengqin's eyes were red. She had painstakingly raised her daughter for 20 years. She was the standard young miss of a noble family. How did she become like this? Fang Shishir was confused and did not react. However, Tang Zheng had already come to a realization and hurriedly explained, Auntie, it's not what you think. I saw it with my own eyes. Is there a mistake? Tang Zheng, you're still young, so why don't you learn well? Don't think that just because you have a bit of skill, you can play with girls. Tang Zheng did not know whether to laugh or cry. This big hat was placed on him too fiercely. How did he play with girls? Master, who is she? She's so noisy, making Linger unable to sleep. Linger squinted her eyes and acted like a spoiled child as she asked. Master? Shi Mengqin's eyes widened. Was this role-playing? Speaking of which, I'm already so old, but I've never played these games before. If this wasn't toying with a girl, then what was? The evidence was irrefutable, causing Shi Mengqin's anger to shoot up. She wanted nothing more than to kick Tang Zheng until he couldn't take care of himself. Fang Chongguo also walked to the door and glanced at her. His expression became especially serious as he said, Shishir, put on your clothes and come out to talk. Bang! The door was directly closed by Shi Mengqin, and the rustling sound of clothes being put on could be heard. Tang Zheng, come over here. Shi Mengqin shouted. Tang Zheng walked up to the two of them, feeling wronged. What is this? I didn't do anything. This is 2F** King wrong. You're being ridiculous, Fang Chongguo couldn't help but say. Before Tang Zheng could speak, he saw Tang Dehai walk out. Little Zheng, what happened? Grandpa, why are you up? Grandpa, how are you? Fang Chongguo stood up and greeted Tang Dehai. Even though he was angry at Tang Zheng, he still maintained enough respect for Tang Dehai. The two of you are? Seeing that the other party wasn't an ordinary person, Tang Dehai couldn't help but feel a bit uneasy as he carefully asked. Shi Mengqin wanted to angrily rebuke Tang Zheng, but Tang Zheng looked at her as if he could predict the future. Her heart thumped as she felt a burst of fear, causing her to swallow her words. They are Shishir's parents. Tang Zheng gently introduced. Tang Dehai was shocked. Honored guests, little Zheng, what are you doing here? Hurry up and greet the guests. There isn't enough food in the house, right? I'll go buy some ingredients and cook. You guys sit down and treat it as your own home. Tang Dehai became busy. Tang Zheng wanted to persuade him, but stopped. If his grandfather left, then he would be able to explain. Otherwise, his grandfather would definitely be worried. Fang Chongguo saw through Tang Zheng's thoughts, so he didn't try to persuade him. After the old man left the house, Fang Chongguo's face sank as he solemnly said, Tang Zheng, we don't object to you and Shishir dating, but you can't be so absurd. Even though my Fang family isn't a big family, we aren't a family that messes around. He hadn't finished speaking when Fang Shishir finished putting on her clothes and walked out. She pouted and said, Dad, what are you doing? She was also a smart person, so she finally understood why her parents were so angry. Seeing that Tang Zheng was wrongly accused, her heart ached. Shishir, don't interrupt. Listen to your father. Shi Mengqin said. You guys listen to me. You all misunderstood. It's not what you think. Fang Shishir anxiously explained. We saw it with our own eyes. How can we misunderstand? You don't have to cover for him. Fang Shishir angrily stomped her foot, her face flushed red as she said, Why don't you guys believe your daughter? You really are infuriating. Tang Zheng let out a long breath and said, Uncle, Auntie, I know what you guys are thinking. You guys really misunderstood. Look at the sofa. Last night I slept here alone. The two looked towards the sofa and the blanket. There were indeed traces of someone sleeping here. In the previous situation, the two had overlooked this point. You guys really didn't sleep together? Shi Mengqin doubtfully asked. Mom, what are you saying? How could we be that kind of person? Fang Shishi's face turned red as she wished she could find a hole to hide in. Tang Jing awkwardly coughed. Last night didn't he have such a dirty thought? If he really did that, then he would have been caught red-handed. But who is that girl? Shi Mengqin asked again, why did she call him master? Master, Ling Er, did she do something wrong again? Just as her voice fell, Ling Er apprehensively walked out and carefully asked. This master caused Shi Mengqin's temper to rise as this title was simply too uncommon in today's society. Ling Er, you go in first. It has nothing to do with you. Oh, okay. If there's anything you need to call Ling Er, master. Ling Er looked at Tang Zheng and blinked her large watery eyes before retreating back into the room as if a burden had been lifted from her shoulders. Where did he go to kidnap such a beautiful girl? Shi Mengqin could not help but admit that Ling Er was truly beautiful. Moreover, she had a spiritual aura about her. He didn't kidnap her. It's a long story, but it's not what you think it is. Fang Shishi could not explain, so she directly said. Seeing her daughter so protective of Tang Zheng and that the other party was not what she thought it was, Shi Mengqin's anger gradually subsided as she said, Shishi, you returned to ordinary balance, so why didn't you go home? Why did you run over to his house? What kind of scandal is this? Isn't this just letting others poke at your backbone and gossip about you? This was my suggestion. This way I can protect Shishi. Tang Zheng rushed to say. You're saying that Shishi will be in danger? Fang Chonghua and Shi Mengqin's expressions changed at the same time. Previously, they thought that Tang Zheng had already resolved the crisis and that their daughter would not be in danger, but it turned out that was not the case. Shi Mengqin flipped out and asked, Tang Zheng, what did you do? Not only did you implicate our family's business, you even affected our daughter's life. Auntie, I also did not want to do this, but you can rest assured that I will not let anyone harm Shishi. Did you guarantee it? I know you are very powerful, but do you think the other party is a freeloader? A few days ago, you caused such a huge commotion in Chongqing City, so don't think that we don't know that it was you. You are a single person, while the other side is an organization and a country. Can you beat them? They are not as strong as you say, and I am also not as weak as you think. Shishi is my woman, so I will protect her. This is my responsibility and obligation. Tang Zheng said resolutely. You are too arrogant. Mom, can't you speak less? Fang Shishi angrily stamped her feet. If I spoke less, you would have believed that your life would be in danger. This won't do, you must come back with me. I don't care who the other party is. Tang Zheng, let me tell you, you must solve this problem. If something really happens to Shishi, even if I become a ghost, I will not let you go. Shi Mengqin was truly anxious. Dad, you should persuade Mom that it is not as serious as she says. Tang Zheng is very powerful and can solve this problem. Fang Shishi anxiously said. Fang Chonghua was indifferent as he could not help but reevaluate his daughter's boyfriend. Was he really suitable for his daughter? He did not care about his own business, but what he cared about the most was his daughter's safety. If Tang Zheng really threatened his daughter's safety, then he did not mind breaking them up. Tang Zheng, we will protect our daughter. In this period of time, don't come looking for her. Wait until you have solved this problem. Fang Chonghua said in a deep voice. Dad, you can't do this. You can't break me and Tang Zheng apart. I'm not trying to break you two apart, but I'm testing his ability and sense of responsibility as a man. If a man can't protect his own woman and talk about love, then this kind of person is a coward. I, Fang Chonghua, will never marry such a coward. Fang Chonghua righteously expressed his stance. He is not a coward. He is a hero with an indomitable spirit. Fang Shishi retorted. Then prove it to everyone. Tang Zheng was not in a rush to express his opinion as he mulled over these words. He had to admit that as a mature man, Fang Chonghua's words were not wrong. If a man cannot protect his own woman, then he was no different from a coward. Moreover, the current situation was special and he had to deal with Xing Feng, so he could not let Shusher take the risk and travel with him. Instead, letting him stay by his parents' side was perhaps the smallest goal and would be safer. Uncle, I agree with what you said. I will prove to you that I am a man with an indomitable spirit. You can bring Shusher back, but you must protect her. Tang Zheng said. No. Fang Shusher immediately retorted. Shusher, listen to me. Tang Zheng advised. I want to face the difficulties with you. Tang Zheng smiled and rubbed her hair and said, believe me, I can solve these problems. You must have confidence in me. Seeing Tang Zheng's resolute eyes, Fang Shusher knew that he had already made up his mind. There was no point in saying anything more, so she compromised. Fang Chonghua and Shi Mengqin looked at each other and could not help but sigh. Their daughter had grown up and did not listen to them but listened to Tang Zheng. As parents, they could not help but feel a sense of helplessness. Dong dong. Chapter 522. It was an unfamiliar woman's voice. Shi Mengqin suspiciously looked at Tang Zheng as if she was saying, could it be that you've been flirting with women again? Tang Zheng acted as if he did not see anything as his eyes turned cold and he became alert. He had just returned to ordinary balance and someone had already come knocking on his door. The other party was definitely not an ordinary person. When he opened the door, he saw an unfamiliar yet beautiful face. This face was still charming and he could imagine how beautiful she was when she was young. Tang Zheng was indifferent as he cautiously asked, who are you? When the person saw Tang Zheng, her expression immediately became excited as she stared at him and asked, you are Tang Zheng? Yes, what do you want? You have a jade pendant with the word martial carved on it. Can you let me see it? The other party carefully asked. Tang Zheng was shocked and said, who exactly are you? I am. The other party was startled, I have no enmity towards you. Can you first give me the jade pendant? I'm sorry, you found the wrong person. I don't have any jade pendant. Seeing the other party's fervent gaze, Tang Zheng gradually realized something and directly refused, preparing to close the door. But a hand suddenly stretched out from behind the other party and blocked the door. Unhappily said, Tang Zheng, don't be so rude. Marshall walked out and angrily looked at Tang Zheng. When Tang Zheng saw Marshall, his expression became even more tense. Marshall, how many times have I told you that I will not go to the Marshall organization? Don't waste your time. Marshall wanted to refute, but Lan Yu took the initiative and waved his hand, indicating that it was fine. He faintly smiled and said, Tang Zheng, we have no enmity towards you. Please be at ease. I don't care if you have enmity or not. I have no relationship with you, so please do not disturb my life. With a bang, Tang Zheng fiercely closed the door. The three members of the Fang family looked at him suspiciously, especially Fang Shusher, who knew Tang Zheng better. She knew that he would never lose his temper for no reason, so she asked with concern, what's wrong? Tang Zheng reluctantly squeezed out a smile and said, it's nothing. In fact, as smart as he was, he had already guessed a few things. Wu was a proud person. He could guess who the person who made her so obedient was if he used his brain a little. She was definitely one of the upper echelons of the martial arts organization, or even the wife of the martial arts organization's sect master. In other words, she could be his biological mother. No matter who she was, Tang Zheng had no interest in her. In the past, he had this attitude in front of the sect master of the martial sect. Therefore, he had the same attitude in front of this person. Shi Mengqin rolled her eyes and bluntly said, it can't be a woman you provoked outside, right? She seems to be quite a bit older than you. Mom, what are you talking about? Fang Shusher pouted and complained anxiously. Shusher, come in with me. I have something to give you. Tang Zheng ignored Shi Mengqin's teasing and held Fang Shusher's hand as they entered the bedroom. Even Ling was invited out. Shi Mengqin and Fang Chonghua stared with wide eyes. After hesitating for a while, Shi Mengqin indignantly said, "What is he trying to do? Is he trying to do something bad in front of us?" Fang Chonghua's face sunk as he reprimanded, "Don't talk nonsense. You are a mother. How can you talk about your own daughter like that? Just wait." Inside the bedroom, Fang Shishir curiously looked at Tang Zheng and asked, "What's the matter?" Tang Zheng squeezed out a smile and said, "Yesterday at the mall, didn't I say that I wanted to give you a present? Did you forget?" Fang Shishir happily opened her eyes wide and said, "Of course I didn't forget. Could it be that there really is a present?" She thought that Tang Zheng was joking, so she didn't pay much attention to it. Dang, dang, dang. Look, what is this? Tang Zheng waved his hand as if he was presenting a treasure. A purple ancient dress appeared in the air, quietly floating in the air. It was mysterious and alluring. What is this? It is called the golden jade purple robe. It is a defensive treasure. I accidentally bought it at an auction and it is a gift for you. Tang Zheng said as if he was asking for credit. This is too precious. Fang Shishir was incomparably surprised, but she knew that this golden jade purple robe was priceless. In reality, this golden jade purple robe was bought by Yan Luyun as a favor, so he didn't spend a single cent. Compared to you, this golden jade purple robe is worthless. You are the most important to me. Tang Zheng said emotionally. He clearly saw that Fang Shishir's eyes were covered with a layer of mist. In the future, with this golden jade purple robe to protect you, I will be more at ease. Fang Shishir was really moved. Not only because this gift was priceless, but also because Tang Zheng always thought of her and missed her. This was the most important thing. Fang Shishir was unable to restrain her emotions. She threw herself into Tang Zheng's arms and took the initiative to give him a kiss. She didn't care about her parents, who were just a wall away. After a long time, their lips reluctantly separated, but they still held each other tightly. Their two hearts were inseparably stuck together. You are too good to me, Fang Shishir said infatuatedly. Tang Zheng smiled and stroked her cheeks and said, I should be good to you. You are my girlfriend. If I don't treat you well, who else should I treat well? Although these words were ordinary, in Fang Shishir's ears, they were extremely moving words of love. Her heart was about to melt. You are too good at sweet talking. Which girl can resist? However, I like to hear it. In the future, you have to say it to me more. Fang Shishir's little girl mentality was triggered. Okay, I promise you. In the future, I will say it to you more. As long as you don't think it's too corny. When we are alone, it's not corny. I like to hear it. Try it on first. It must be very beautiful. Fang Shishir gently nodded. In front of Tang Zheng, she began to undress. If it was before, she would be too embarrassed to do this in broad daylight. Unless Tang Zheng used force. But at this very moment, she was willing to do anything for him. Piece after piece of clothing fell. Traces of white and delicate skin were exposed to the air. It added a trace of spring to the cold winter. Her body was like a peerless work of art. When it was displayed in front of Tang Zheng, it was beautiful and moving. Tang Zheng stared without blinking. There was not a trace of improper thoughts in his eyes. There was only deep love. So beautiful. He praised from the bottom of his heart. Fang Shishir faintly smiled. She stuck out her chest as if she wanted him to see more clearly. Then she gently said, Help me put it on. The golden jade purple robe was an ancient costume. It took a lot of effort to put it on. When it was properly put on, Fang Shishir's body had a trace of spiritual energy. She was like a fairy descending to the mortal world. So beautiful. Tang Zheng sincerely praised, Try to circulate your true qi and pour it into the golden jade purple robe. Fang Shishir knew that this was to activate the golden jade purple robe. She did as she was told. Traces of true qi slowly poured into the golden jade purple robe. Shwa! A purple light suddenly burst out, dyeing the entire room into a purple sea. Fang Shishir was wrapped in the purple light. She slowly flew up until she was suspended in the air. She was especially mysterious and noble, like a fairy descending to the mortal world. Not long after, the golden jade purple robe gradually disappeared from the surface of her body. The purple light disappeared. Finally, the golden jade purple robe completely disappeared. It was as if it had never appeared. Fang Shishir safely landed on the ground. She was once again naked. She could not help but look at her own body in surprise. It was still smooth and delicate, like mutton fat jade. "Where's the golden jade purple robe?" she asked, dumbfounded. Tang Jing faintly smiled. "It's already hidden on the surface of your body. You can wear other clothes as usual. It's only a layer of protection. It won't affect your daily life." "Wow, that's really too amazing. Then wouldn't I be invulnerable? Normal weapons can't hurt you. Why don't you try?" Fang Shishir picked up a pair of scissors and nervously asked, "Will there really be no problem?" Tang Jing nodded his head and gave her an encouraging look. Fang Shishir clenched her teeth and fiercely stabbed the scissors into her arm. There was no blood. The scissors stopped on the surface of her skin. No matter how hard she tried, it was as if there was an invisible barrier blocking it. "Wow, it really works." Fang Shishir cheered. Tang Jing also gave a gratified smile. Fang Shishir loudly shouted and directly threw herself into Tang Jing's embrace. Her naked body intimately came into contact with Tang Jing. Tang Jing's head shook. He could not help but feel restless. His claws moved from her waist, preparing to attack her. Fang Shishir's face was red. She bit her lips and allowed him to take advantage of her. Dong dong. Suddenly, the door was heavily knocked on. "Tang Jing, Shishir, what are you two doing in there? Hurry up and come out." Shi Mengqin saw that the two had not come out and directly came knocking on the door. Fang Shishir was like a little deer that had been caught red-handed. She jumped out of Tang Jing's embrace and bashfully replied, "Mom, don't knock anymore. We'll come out soon." Hurriedly putting on his clothes, Tang Jing crossed his arms and enjoyed the beautiful scenery. Fang Shishir dressed neatly and hurriedly opened the door. Her face was red like a ripe apple. Shi Mengqin fiercely glared at Tang Jing, wishing she could swallow him whole. Seeing her daughter's expression, the two were definitely not doing anything good. This Tang Jing's guts were simply too big. "What are you two doing?" "Nothing," Fang Shishir guiltily said. Shi Mengqin coldly snorted and pulled Fang Shishir out of the room. "Come, let's go home." Fang Shishir secretly stuck out her tongue at Tang Jing and made a helpless face as she was pulled to the door. Creak. The door opened and Shi Mengqin lifted her leg to walk out. However, she was blocked by two people. She could not help but wrinkle her eyebrows and said, "What are you doing? Don't block the way." "Impudent, how can you say that?" Marshall was helpless against Tang Jing, but he could not tolerate other people's attitude towards his master's wife. Shi Mengqin was frightened and unconsciously took a step back. The other party's aura was simply too strong. Lan Yu acted as if she did not hear anything and only stared blankly at Tang Jing. Tang Jing's face was expressionless, but his heart was incomparably fretful. He unhappily said, "Didn't I tell you? We have nothing to talk about, so don't disturb me." Chapter 523. The three members of the Fang clan looked at Tang Jing and Lan Yu strangely, especially Fang Chonghua, who was experienced and knowledgeable. He had seen too many powerful auras, but they could not be compared to this woman. Even though she was not overbearing and only looked at Tang Jing with resentment, the aura emitted from her body made others not dare to approach her. They could not help but feel a sense of insignificance, as if they were ants facing an elephant. He could not help but be curious about the other party's identity. Why did she have such a strange relationship with Tang Jing? Lan Yu looked at Tang Jing without blinking and gently advised, "Tang Jing, don't tell me you don't want to know about your background? Don't you want to know about your birth parents? In fact, they have always missed their son." My surname is Tang. I was raised by my grandfather. It has nothing to do with anyone else. Tang Zheng resolutely said. The pain and guilt between Lan Yu's brows became even more intense. Although she had not seen the jade pendant, from the reactions of Marshall and Tang Zheng, she was almost certain that Tang Zheng was her son. Any mother who heard such resolute words would be heartbroken. But she did not blame Tang Zheng because everything was their fault. Tang Zheng's resentment was a matter of course. The three members of the Fong clan looked at each other in shock. As long as one was not an idiot, they would be able to guess the possibilities from this conversation. Especially since they knew that Tang Zheng was an orphan that Tang Dahai picked up from the trash. Could it be that this imposing woman was Tang Zheng's family, or even his birth mother? This woman's position is definitely not simple. Tang Zheng is her son, so his identity is not simple either. He is not an orphan, but the young master of a large power. Shi Mengqin's expression was somewhat awkward. The feeling of superiority she had when facing Tang Zheng had completely disappeared. Although Tang Zheng's strength was not weak, Shi Mengqin still felt a sense of superiority towards him. She believed that he was born as a poor brat and could not be compared to her precious daughter. But now, she realized that Tang Zheng's birth might be even nobler than hers. She could not help but feel all sorts of feelings welling up in her heart. Fang Chonghua didn't have such power, but he couldn't help but view Tang Zheng in a new light. On the contrary, Fang Shishir was the most innocent. She knew how hard Tang Zheng's childhood was. She couldn't imagine a childhood without the love of his parents. Therefore, at this moment, when she saw that Tang Zheng might be able to find his biological parents, her heart moved and she advised, Tang Zheng, if there's anything you want to say, let's sit down and talk about it slowly. Fang Shishir waved her hand expressionlessly. Shishir, don't worry about this. You guys go home first. Seeing Tang Zheng stubbornly insist, Fang Shishir helplessly sighed and left with her parents. However, Shi Mengqin turned her head back 3 times as if she wanted to imprint Lan Yu's appearance in her mind. Tang Zheng was worried that his grandfather would come back from buying groceries, so he unceremoniously asked them to leave. You too, if you have nothing else to say, please leave. My family does not welcome you. Tang Zheng, you. Marshall was indignant, but before he could finish, he was stopped by his master's wife. Lan Yu forced out a lonely smile and said, I know it is hard for you to accept this matter. I can understand your feelings. During this period of time, I will be in ordinary balance. You can come find me anytime. This is the hotel we are staying at. Lan Yu handed over a piece of paper with the name of the hotel and a phone number written on it. It was obviously her phone number. In order to send the two of them away, Tang Zheng casually took it and closed the door without hesitation. Lan Yu took a deep look at the door and helplessly shook his head. He went downstairs in a daze and coincidentally missed Tang Dahai, who had just returned from buying groceries. Standing downstairs, Lan Yu looked up at the tall building and muttered to himself, what exactly do I have to do to dispel his anger? Marshall said indignantly, Mistress, you're really letting him do as he pleases. With our strength, we can easily snatch the jade pendant away. So what if I snatch the jade pendant away? What I want is not the jade pendant, but my son. Marshall was speechless. That jade pendant was only used to confirm Tang Zheng's identity, but looking at Mistress's attitude today, it was clear that she had already recognized Tang Zheng. In the past, Marshall was only guessing, but he didn't expect Mistress to be so certain. After thinking for a moment, he said, Mistress, maybe I was wrong. He's not your child at all. Lan Yu retracted his gaze and looked meaningfully at Wu, saying, Wu, you are still too young. You have never had a child before, so you don't know the feeling of a mother and son's heart being connected. Although this is the first time I've met him, and we haven't even exchanged a few words, I can already feel that he is my child. There's no mistake about it. Really? Marshall found it hard to believe. This kind of statement was too profound. Wasn't DNA testing popular now? Just relying on the jade pendant to determine it was indeed too arbitrary. However, Lan Yu's feelings were clearly different. It was as if as a mother, she could feel other feelings that Marshall was unable to fathom. Marshall, what do you think I should do? Lan Yu asked. Marshall shook her head helplessly. If she had followed her thoughts and directly kidnapped Tang Zheng, there wouldn't have been so much trouble. That girl just now was his girlfriend, right? Lan Yu suddenly asked. Marshall was stunned for a moment, then nodded. Yes, her name is Fang Shishir. She is a classmate of Tang Zheng and is also a lover. He seems to care a lot about her attitude. Lan Yu had an idea. Let's go find this girl. Not long after the three of them returned home, Lan Yu knocked on the Fang family's door. When Xi Mengqin saw the two people at the door, she couldn't help but be stunned. After a while, she asked in bewilderment, "May I know what business do the two of you have?" Lan Yu revealed a smile. This smile seemed to be able to melt the ice and snow of winter, causing people to feel as if they were bathed in a spring breeze. "I'm looking for Fang Shishir," Lan Yu said gently. Xi Mengqin looked at the other party in astonishment, not knowing what the other party was up to. If it was a normal person, she would have already chased them away, but facing Lan Yu, she couldn't muster up the courage to chase her away. Like a defeated general, she helplessly welcomed the other party into the room. When Fang Chonghua and Fang Shishir saw the two of them, they couldn't hide their surprise and politely invited them to take a seat. Fang Chonghua carefully asked, "What business do the two of you have with my daughter?" "I want to ask her to advise Tang Zheng." Lan Yu went straight to the point. "Advise him on what?" Fang Chonghua asked knowingly, wanting to confirm his guess. Lan Yu took a deep breath and prepared to reveal the truth. Since she was asking for help, if she didn't tell the truth, it would be more troublesome and have the opposite effect. "I am Tang Zheng's birth mother. That year, after giving birth to him, due to some external factors, he was abandoned. It was only recently that I found out that he was still alive in this world, so I immediately rushed over to meet him. However, his misunderstanding of me is too deep, so I want to ask Fang Shishir to help persuade him and let us mother and son acknowledge each other." The three of them from the Fang family all stared with their eyes wide open. Even though their guess was confirmed, the three of them were still shocked. Tang Zheng's true identity was actually not simple. This was something they never would have thought of. Xi Mengqin's expression was embarrassed and somewhat unnatural. Of course, her pride and superiority didn't exist, causing her to be at a loss for what to do. Fang Shishir, on the other hand, was much simpler as she said, "Ever since I met Tang Zheng, he has never mentioned his birth parents. Ever since he was young, he and his grandfather relied on each other for survival. In the past, he suffered quite a bit. When he was in school, he was bullied by his classmates and teachers. Because of this, he learned to be strong and protect his family and loved ones. He simply doesn't care about his own identity. For someone like you to suddenly barge into his life, it is indeed very difficult for you to succeed." Fang Shishir undoubtedly understood Tang Zheng very well and hit the nail on the head. "I also know that this is all my fault, but the situation back then was too complicated. It can't be explained in just a few words. I don't ask for his forgiveness and only hope that we can get along like normal friends, so that he can accept me bit by bit," Lan Yu said. Fang Shishir shook her head. "This is truly very difficult. In his life, even in his heart, he has already gotten used to not having your existence. He even somewhat hates you, so how could he accept you?" The grief on Lan Yu's face became even stronger as she turned her gaze towards Xi Mengqin and said, "This big sister, you are also a mother, so you should be able to understand my feelings. My own flesh and blood is right in front of me, yet I am unable to recognize him and am even treated as an enemy. This kind of feeling is truly worse than death. I also don't have extravagant hopes that he will immediately forgive me. I just want him to give me a chance." Seeing the high and mighty Lan Yu speaking so humbly, Xi Mengqin did not feel pleased but instead nodded in fear and trepidation. A mother and child are connected by heart. This kind of feeling, how could us mothers not understand, AI? Fang Chonghua had been silent the entire time but suddenly said to his daughter, "Shishir, in reality, if Tang Zheng is able to recognize his birth mother, then this is also a good thing for him. Perhaps it will be difficult for him to accept it, but in the end, parents are still parents. Dad, although I understand this reasoning, this matter may not necessarily make sense. Fang Shishir said. Is there really no hope for me? Lan Yu was in a daze. Marshall had never seen her master's wife like this before and felt extremely pained. She really wanted to fiercely beat Tang Jing up, but right now, she was not Tang Zheng's opponent, so she could only think about it. Fang Shishir pondered for a moment and said, if there really is a glimmer of hope, then there is only one person who can do it. Who? His grandfather. He and his grandfather depend on each other for survival. Grandfather is the most important person in his life and he listens to his grandfather the most. If his grandfather wants him to recognize you, then he definitely will not disobey. In reality, Fang Shishir felt pity for Lan Yu. As a woman, although she did not have a child, she could roughly imagine Lan Yu's pain. Moreover, she also knew that ever since he was young, Tang Jing wished to have a normal family and have parents to love him. Although these feelings gradually faded, in reality, they were always buried deep in his heart. If he really did have parents to love him, then in the end, it would definitely be a good thing for him and he would be able to fulfill his wish. His grandfather? Lan Yu was bewildered. Would he do that? After all, Tang Zheng is his grandson who depends on each other for survival. Would he let others take him away? First of all, I want to make one point clear. No one can take Tang Zheng away from his grandfather. Grandfather's position in his heart is unique. But grandfather is truly a kind-hearted person. He definitely wants to see Tang Zheng reunite with his family. Fang Shishir said. Chapter 524. After Tang Jing sent Lan Yu and Wu away, his grandfather went home. The old man also complained about why Tang Jing did not keep the guests for dinner. Tang Jing explained a few words, had breakfast, and was ready to go out. The old man was also a restless character. During his absence, the recycle bin almost stagnated, and his old companion's income sharply decreased. He was very worried, so he was ready to go to the recycle bin. Tang Jing asked Wu and Gue Qiansui to protect his grandfather, so there was a strange scene on the street. A big turtle with a small dog-like animal lying on its back followed an old man through the streets. Many people were amazed. They had seen people walking dogs and cats, but this was the first time they saw people walking a turtle. Fortunately, the old man's heart was a lot stronger than before. He did not care about the strange eyes around him, and quickly walked to the recycle bin. Gue Qiansui's speed was not slow, and followed step by step. Xiaobai was still a fat boy, lying on Gue Qiansui's back without moving. For Xiaobai's change, Tang Zheng could not figure it out. This little guy was not like other demon beasts that could speak. What changes would there be? He could only wait and see. Ling followed Tang Zheng closely, which attracted a lot of people's attention. When the two came to an office building, many white-collar workers frequently glanced at Ling However, Ling only had Tang Zheng in her heart, and did not care about others. This made these white-collar workers, who claimed to be experts in picking up girls, feel frustrated. Pushing open the door of an office, the fierce discussion in the room came to an abrupt end. They all turned to look at Tang Zheng. Young Master Tang. Several people shouted in unison. Tang Zheng nodded to several people. Lin Hu and Fire Phoenix's eyebrows were full of excitement. These two old brothers and sisters had experienced a lot of storms, but at this moment they could not help but feel excited. This was because Tang Zheng had already said that they were going to play a big game this time, so that those rascals would not dare to provoke them easily. In the past, Tang Zheng was considered a tycoon, but the situation he created was too small. It was no wonder that others ignored him. Even if he relied on selling life-continuing pills to earn billions or even tens of billions of gold coins, he still couldn't compare to the influence of the several great families. Because the money was all in his wallet, it didn't have much use. This was a principle that Tang Zheng had recently comprehended. Xing Feng had done all kinds of evil, but why didn't he dare to go to war with the other families? That was because the other families had too many properties and too many implications. This was not just because the big families were rich, but because their businesses were closely related to too many ordinary people. There were people from these families in all aspects of the country, and many people's lives were affected by these families. It was like a large factory with millions of workers. Would the country dare to touch this factory? Of course not, because once they did, it would cause problems in the lives of hundreds of people. This was an unstable factor, and could even cause the situation to become unstable. This was a consequence that Xing Feng could not bear. But to deal with Tang Zheng, there was no need to worry about this. He was only in the corner of ordinary balance. Moreover, he was inextricably linked to the underworld. To deal with him, it could even be justified in the name of fighting against the underworld. Tang Zheng had to turn this situation around. The only way was to make his business bigger and stronger, and kidnap more people onto his ship. Whether it was the current Xing Feng or the others in the future, no one would dare to act rashly. This was influence. When Tang Zheng told them this idea, Mu Hongyan was very impressed. Because this was what the big families did. For example, although the Chu family no longer had a pillar of support, it was still a big family that was difficult for ordinary people to reach. The country still would not make a move against this family. Although it was foreseeable that the Chu family would go downhill, he could still maintain his position in the short term, although his influence in front of other families would weaken a lot. After experiencing so many things, Tang Zheng finally understood the essence of it. This was growth. Only by experiencing it personally could one truly understand it. Mu Hongyan was calmer than Qilin and Huafeng. She nodded at Tang Zheng, but her eyes fell on Linger. Her eyes flashed with a touch of amazement. She thought that Tang Zheng really did not lack beautiful girls. Who was this? Lin Hu and Huafeng also saw Linger. Huafeng could not help but exclaim, "Wow, what a beautiful girl." Tang Zheng smiled and said, "Her name is Linger." Lin Hu looked meaningfully at Tang Zheng. He thought with an evil smile, could this be young Master Tang's close female friend? Young Master Tang's luck with women was too good. This would make all the men in the world jealous. Tang Zheng, we have discussed a bit. Based on your opinion, we have made a detailed plan. In fact, this plan is a further refinement and improvement of the previous plan. According to what you said, our previous plan is still too small. We must aim to be number one. Mu Hongyan understood Tang Zheng's intention and said meticulously. Tang Zheng nodded with appreciation. I am most relieved when Big Sister Mu is handling things. Although we have encountered the biggest crisis not long ago, the phoenix will shine brighter after its nirvana. Our business empire is the same. Then what if the Dragon Group people come to make trouble? In the next few days, I will take care of this matter and completely eliminate the annoying flies from the Dragon Group. Tang Zheng said in high spirits. The others did not doubt whether he could do it or not. This was because they had absolute confidence in Tang Zheng. This time, we must advance in many ways. Moreover, we must expand our business empire as fast as possible. Tang Zheng said. The fastest way to see results is to acquire the existing assets. This is much faster than us starting from scratch. Mu Hongyan analyzed. I agree. I saw that there are 3 directions in the plan: real estate, clubhouse, and hotel. The layout of each direction is a little bigger. This is very good. This is also the area that everyone is familiar with. But I am prepared to add 2 more directions on this basis. Tang Zheng said while holding out 2 fingers. Mu Hongyan looked at him curiously. She knew that Tang Zheng's personal strength was very strong. However, his talent and ability in business was indeed average. He had never systematically studied the relevant knowledge and was used to being a shopkeeper. Therefore, she was very curious about what insights Tang Zheng would come up with. One of them is the entertainment industry. Tang Zheng lightly said. Entertainment industry? The other 3 were a little curious. Lin Hu suspiciously said, "Young Master Tang, you want to enter the entertainment industry?" Tang Zheng nodded. "This is a very profitable industry. Moreover, it is closely related to the people's spiritual life. Now that people have money, their pursuit of spiritual life is naturally higher. Therefore, whether it is a movie or a variety show, it will be very profitable." Looking at the soaring box office, there were many poorly made movies that had hundreds of millions or even billions. This was simply robbing money. It was even more profitable than him selling the life-continuing pill. Moreover, this was a sustainable way to make money. Refining the life-continuing pill required all kinds of mysterious herbs. If any of the herbs were missing, then the life-continuing pill could not be refined. Mu Hongyan thought for a while and nodded approvingly. This direction is not bad. Although the entertainment industry is very chaotic, the speed of making money is much faster than other physical industries. It's just that we are not too familiar with this industry, so we still need to recruit professionals. Tang Zheng took out a business card from his pocket and handed it to Mu Hongyan. "This person is in the entertainment industry. You can contact him." AI Me. I've heard of this name before. A few years ago he was a gold medal manager. He made many artists famous, but later he offended people and was almost marginalized by the entertainment industry. He did not have any artists in his hands. Mu Hongyan looked at the business card in astonishment. "Oh, this damn sissy actually lied to me. He said he was very powerful. So he was actually someone who was marginalized by the entertainment industry." Tang Zheng hatefully said. "This sissy bragged too much. AI Me is indeed very capable. He entered the entertainment industry when he was only 10 years old. In just a few short years he became famous. If there are no accidents, he will certainly become the most powerful gold medal manager in Huaxia." Mu Hongyan asserted. "Hee, I rarely hear you praise someone like this. The entertainment industry and various rich people's lives have a lot of intersection, so I know a little about it. AI Me's incident was quite big and many people in the industry know about it. The main reason I praise him like this is because his attitude towards the artists in his hands is admirable." Tang Zheng, on the other hand, did not see anything worthy of admiration about the sissy. He takes very good care of the artists in his hands. There was once a very powerful person who wanted to use the unspoken rules on one of his artists. He slapped the other party in front of everyone. The other party was not harsh and finally used all kinds of methods to suppress him. That's why he was in such a miserable state. Hey, you really can't judge a book by its cover. I didn't expect this sissy to be so manly. Tang Zheng was quite surprised. After all, the entertainment industry was in a mess. Many stars were just high-class prostitutes. As long as you have money and power, sleeping with others is a common occurrence. This is also the reason why there have been so many scandals in the entertainment industry in recent years. AI Me actually went against the trend. This really requires extraordinary courage. If that's the case, then I really did pick up a treasure. Let's dig him up." Tang Zheng made his decision. In fact, the reason he chose to enter the entertainment industry was because of Ling. Since she wants to sing and be a star, then let her be. If she signs with other companies she will definitely be wronged. Then I'll make my own company and play according to my own rules. This way I won't be restricted by others. Since AI Me has such a bottom line, then in the future letting him take care of Ling, Tang Zheng will also be relieved. If any blind person thinks he has some stinky money and wants to use the unspoken rules on Ling, then Tang Zheng will definitely not be lenient and beat him until even his mother can't recognize him. Chapter 525. Mu Hongyan and the others looked at Ling in shock, not knowing what kind of relationship she had with Tang Zheng for him to spend so much effort to make her popular. But, just based on her appearance, she definitely had the potential to be a star. Nowadays, there were still a few stars that walked the path of a jade girl, but Ling did not need any packaging, she was a fairy sister. Ling covered her small mouth and looked at Tang Zheng in surprise, saying, "Master, you want me to be a star?" Then Ling Er can sing, right? Obviously, she had a soft spot for singing and could not forget it. Master? When the three heard this name, they looked at Tang Jing strangely. He knew what the other party was thinking, so he awkwardly coughed and said, "Don't think too much, Ling Er is my little sister." Little sister. Lin Hu and Fire Phoenix looked at each other and thought in their hearts. Master, Ling Er is your servant, how could I have the qualifications to be your little sister? Ling Er said seriously. When Tang Zheng heard this, he deliberately put on a straight face and said, "Don't talk nonsense, from now on you are my little sister, don't tell me you won't listen to me?" Ling Er shook her head like a rattle drum. Ling Er does not dare. Then it's decided, from now on you will have the same surname as me, Ling Er. This name sounds pretty good. Tang Zheng did not give the other party a chance to refuse. Ling Er's eyes lit up, nodding her head like she was pounding garlic and said, "The name Master gave is really good. From now on don't call me Master, call me Big Brother, got it?" Tang Zheng did not want others to think of him as a pervert, letting such a beautiful girl call him Master. Anyone who heard this would think that there was something wrong with him. At this moment, the other three's expressions were probably the same, but they were definitely worried about his feelings and did not say it out loud. Tang Jing also had no way to explain. As time passed, they would naturally dispel their wild guesses. Brother. Linger cried out happily. In the future, Linger will definitely serve Big Brother with all her heart. Hearing the word serve, the three people's expressions became even stranger. They were even more convinced that there was something going on between the two of them. Tang Jing rolled his eyes helplessly and continued, "Finally, the other direction is medicine." Mu Hongyan recalled the miraculous effects of the life-continuing pill, and her expression became excited. There was no doubt that Tang Zheng had an innate advantage when it came to this industry. Moreover, after this industry became bigger and stronger, it would have a greater influence than other industries because this was a matter of life and death. Therefore, Mu Hongyan was not stingy with her praise. "That's a great idea." Tang Jing also laughed and said, "However, in this aspect, we need a medical professional to be a consultant." Mu Hongyan laughed and said, "Aren't you one? You can be considered a saint of apricot woods. You're much better than many so-called famous doctors." "Huh, you're overpraising me. I can't even be considered half a bucket of water." Tang Jing knew his own limits. He might be able to find some pill recipes, but these things could not be mass-produced. Just like the life-continuing pill, if it was mass-produced, then it would not be worth much and would cause chaos in society. Moreover, this thing could not be mass-produced. Mu Hongyan looked at him suspiciously. She did not understand why he was so modest. "I found a consultant who is thousands of times better than me." In this world, there is someone who is thousands of times better than you in the field of medicine? Mu Hongyan did not believe it. "The king of medicine." Tang Jing revealed the answer. Although the king of medicine was his disciple, in his heart, the king of medicine was much better than his master in the field of medicine. He had more right to speak. Mu Hongyan said excitedly, "Senior king of medicine? Would he be willing? I heard that many pharmaceutical companies and large hospitals want to invite the king of medicine, but he rejected them all." Tang Zheng was full of confidence. "You'll know when the time comes, but I'll need you to do the specific preparations." Mu Hongyan was full of confidence. With the support of such a powerful consultant, what reason would there be for failure? "Don't worry, but with such a big mess all of a sudden, your money is only enough for the initial investment. You'll definitely need more money later." "Don't worry, money is not a problem." "Then there's no problem. In addition, since we want to be big and strong, then we can't choose the location of our headquarters in ordinary balance." Mu Hongyan said. Ordinary balance was not even a third-tier city, so it was impossible to choose the location of such a large business empire's headquarters. Tang Jing thought for a moment and said, "Then where should we go?" "Beijing. It's the economic, political, and cultural center. Only in Beijing can we expand our influence." Tang Jing nodded his head, "Okay. But Beijing is a mixed bag of crooks and dragons, and there are many local tyrants. It's also a place where many powers gather, so the difficulties we'll face will be greater. Mu Hongyan said truthfully. We're not afraid of difficulties, but we need to have the courage and boldness to face them head-on. Tang Zheng said fearlessly as he waved his fist. Mu Hongyan looked at him approvingly. She thought that this boy was maturing little by little. She didn't know how far he could go in the future, but she really looked forward to it. Tang Zheng left the office and left Linger behind, because Mu Hongyan had already contacted AI Me to discuss the packaging of Linger. Tang Zheng walked alone on the street, looking at the bustling crowd. He was very familiar with this city that he had lived in for nearly 20 years, and he also had a lot of feelings for it. Since he wanted to become big and strong, then he couldn't treat this city unfairly. In the future, he would definitely prioritize ordinary balance. For example, some of the medical production bases would be placed in ordinary balance. This could also be considered as giving back to the city. Unknowingly, he arrived at Pengcheng International School. The school was already on winter break, so the school was empty. Standing at the school gate, looking at the silent school, he somewhat missed his high school life. Although he had only been away for half a year, too many things had happened during this time, more than anything he had experienced before. Crazy woman, why are you still bothering us? Didn't we already give you living expenses this month? How much more do you want? A man who is never content is like a snake trying to swallow an elephant. Suddenly, an angry shout rang out, interrupting Tang Zheng's thoughts. He subconsciously turned his head and saw two young people and an old woman with messy hair standing across the street. The two young people were dressed in bright clothes, while the old woman was clearly wearing old clothes. The contrast between the two sides was very obvious. The two young people were clearly a couple or husband and wife. They were holding hands, while the young woman was arrogantly shouting at the old woman. You only give me 200 yuan a month, how can I live on it? The old woman pitifully said. 200 yuan isn't enough? Then how much more do you want? Don't tell me you want us to give you all of our salary. You are too greedy. Isn't all of this your own fault? Instead of being a good teacher, you framed your students. That's why you were expelled from school, and even your pension is gone. You have become our burden. The young woman pointed at the old woman's forehead, and impolitely reprimanded. The old woman cowered, not daring to refute. Tang Zheng finally recognized the other party. That senile old woman was actually his former class teacher, Wu Zuehong. He deeply experienced how snobbish Wu Zuehong was at that time. Even so, he didn't have much hatred for Wu Zuehong. But in the end, Wu Zuehong actually stole his college entrance exam ticket, wanting him to be unable to take the college entrance exam. This kind of vicious method thoroughly angered Tang Zheng. Thus, he used his battle spirit to scare her silly. He heard that she was directly expelled by the school. But now it seemed that her spirit had returned to normal, but her life was too poor. The young couple was his son and daughter-in-law. Tang Zheng had seen them come to school before. It seemed that she was disliked by her son and daughter-in-law. Husband, let's go. Don't pay attention to her. Having this kind of mother is really too embarrassing. The young woman grabbed her husband's hand and walked away. From beginning to end, the man didn't say a word. Wu Zuehong was in a daze, but there was nothing she could do. She went to the trash can and finally found 2 mineral water bottles. She tightly held them in her hand and then went to look for the next trash can. Tang Zheng silently watched. The other party obviously didn't see him, and Tang Zheng didn't feel sad or happy. He didn't feel relieved because Wu Hongzui was not worthy of his anger or hatred. She was an insignificant person. If he hadn't met her today, Tang Zheng probably wouldn't have remembered her. Of course, he wouldn't pity her. A pitiful person must have a hateful side. All of this was her own fault. If she hadn't treated Tang Zheng like that, she wouldn't have fallen to this point. She was so tough in school, but the son she taught was like a soft egg. He actually treated his own mother like this. What an unfilial son. Tang Zheng muttered to himself, but was suddenly startled because he remembered the face at the door this morning. If Wu Zuihong's son was an unfilial son, then what was he? He guiltily shook his head and comforted himself, my situation is different from his. Even if they really are my parents, they abandoned me and didn't fulfill their responsibilities as parents. What qualifications do they have to redeem everything? But looking at the other party's attitude, it seemed like they wouldn't give up until they won back Tang Zheng's heart. What should he do? What's troubling you so much that you're frowning so much? Suddenly, a person walked over and asked curiously. Tang Zheng suddenly raised his head and saw a familiar person. Why are you here? Suing Tian said with a smile, you caused such a big commotion at the base. If I didn't come, would the dragon group come to find you first? Hang, it's good that they came. I was worried that Xing Feng wouldn't appear. Tang Zheng hatefully said. Xing Feng has already been scared to death by you. Right now he's hiding in the capital with layers of guards around him. It won't be easy to touch him. Suing Tian said. There's nothing in this world that is impossible. Tang Zheng disagreed. Suing Tian shook his head, you want to assassinate him, right? Tang Zheng didn't reply, which could be considered a tacit agreement. Chapter 526. Tang Zheng's face was expressionless, but his heart was moved. Suing Tian's words were not without reason. Xing Feng was only a puppet. If they killed him, the people behind him could push out others. It would be an endless stream, and Tang Zheng would be exhausted. Moreover, the country would not remain indifferent to assassinate an official of Xing Feng's level. That was because it was a challenge to the country's prestige. Just how powerful was the strength of the state of Qi, Tang Zheng did not want to test it out. Could it be that only he can kill me, but I can't do anything to him? Tang Zheng asked indignantly. Suing Tian's lips curled. He knew that he had finally convinced Tang Zheng. He continued, of course not. We have to set our sights further. What we are dealing with is not just Xing Feng, but the people behind him. As long as we completely topple his backer, he will be like a snake without its fangs pulled out. He will not be much of a threat. At that time, no matter how you deal with him, no one will say anything. Tang Zheng looked at Suing Tian with a burning gaze. Are you trying to clear things up for him? I, Suing Tian, am not that bored. I am doing this for you, not for him. An outstanding young man like you will not make such a grave mistake because of Xing Feng and ruin your future. Suing Tian said sincerely. Oh, so kind. Tang Zheng was not a 3-year-old child. He would not believe just anyone's words, even if they had worked together before. Why is it so hard to do a little good in this world? Suing Tian said with a bitter smile. Fine, I can temporarily not kill him, but you have to promise that he will not come looking for trouble with me. I do not want my family to be in danger at all times. This. Suing Tian hesitated. If you don't agree, then there is no need for us to talk. Tang Zheng was not going to be polite with him. All right, I promise you. I'll go find Xing Feng. Even if I have to give up my reputation, I'll make you guys stop fighting for the time being. Suing Tian gritted his teeth and agreed. Tang Zheng nodded his head in satisfaction. Although he couldn't completely get rid of Xing Feng, he could at least maintain peace for the time being. He had to focus on developing his business empire. Only when he expanded his influence, whether it was Xing Feng or any other government officials in the future, they would not dare to act rashly. This was one of his greatest trump cards. Of course, he still had to work hard to cultivate and quickly increase his cultivation. When a person's martial strength reached a certain level, it was enough to make the enemy hesitate. Tang Zheng, in truth, if you join the National Security Bureau and obtain an official identity, this is the biggest protective talisman. Whether it is for public or private reasons, there are many benefits. Suing Tian suggested. Tang Zheng refused without hesitation. Thank you for your kindness, but I'm used to being lazy. I don't like it when others control me. Otherwise, it'll be counterproductive. Even if you haven't eaten pork, you've seen a pig run. Tang Jing naturally understood that there were benefits to gaining an official status, but there were more restrictions and restrictions. After all, he was a cultivator. How could he be willing to be restricted by the government? Su Yingtian's eyes flashed with a trace of disappointment. The National Security Agency's door has always been open for you. Whenever you want to join, I'll welcome you with open arms. Pausing for a moment, Su Yingtian's expression became serious. Tang Jing, you know better than me what happened in the base in the desert. So I want to know what's going on with that towering tree. Your science is so advanced. Could it be that you can't detect it? Tang Jing asked back. Su Yingtian helplessly shook his head. Science can't solve all problems. You're a cultivator, so you should understand this point. Moreover, you've auctioned off so many life-continuing pills. This kind of heaven-defying thing, can science explain it? Tang Jing admitted that what he said wasn't wrong. But his words reminded him of another important question. How exactly do you government officials view cultivators? Su Yingtian seemed to have already expected him to ask this question. Without thinking, he said, now is not the ancient era. Science and technology is developing and its power cannot be underestimated. Although cultivators have many mysterious things, they are not natural enemies of the country. They cannot control the life and death of anyone. Tang Jing softly laughed. It seems like you martial artists have a much more optimistic attitude. That's natural. The majority of martial artists have a very narrow vision. They only look at their own little piece of land and don't think about the big picture. Su Yingtian happily said. Oh, what big picture? The situation of the world. Let me ask you a question first. Why was China the best developed in ancient times? Why was it the center of the world? Why was it the golden age of all countries? Su Yingtian threw out a question that was similar to history. Today's history teachers have also talked about this question many times. They believe that the Western countries' science and technology developed faster and Huaxia closed up the country. Because of this, they fell behind and were passively beaten. But the answer Su Yingtian wanted was definitely not this. Tang Jing couldn't help but bitterly think about it. Huaxia's decline began in the last dynasty. After the cultivators were expelled, Huaxia gradually declined and was even bullied by the Western countries. Suddenly, a light flashed in his mind. His eyes widened in shock as he stared at Su Yingtian. He bewilderedly said, could it be that all of this is related to the disappearance of cultivators? Su Yingtian nodded his head in praise. The younger generation will surpass us in time. Many people bitterly ponder over this question for several decades before they can understand it, but you can understand it with just a hint. Tang Jing still felt like he was shrouded in fog and said, but I still don't understand what exactly is going on. It's very simple. Before the cultivators were expelled, they were the most powerful group in the world. Whether it was Huaxia or the West, there was no one who could contend against the cultivators. And the cultivators are a unique product of our Huaxia. They don't exist anywhere else. In addition, in ancient times, the West was a barren land. Normal people were not willing to set foot in it and their development was very slow. These barren people greatly respected Huaxia, so they sent envoys from thousands of miles away to worship and learn from them. Many of Huaxia's technologies were learned by them. Ever since the disappearance of the cultivators, the Western countries were no longer restrained by the cultivators, so they developed rapidly and uncontrollably. Their science and technology changed with each passing day, which was why the Western powers bullied my Huaxia, causing Huaxia to suffer a history of humiliation that had never happened before. Su Yingtian sighed after he finished speaking, feeling extremely moved. Perhaps New Era never dreamed that the expulsion of the cultivators would leave behind such a huge problem, almost bringing Huaxia into a situation of eternal damnation. When Tang Jing heard this, he was flabbergasted. These words had a huge impact on him. He had always been worried that the cultivators would carry out inhumane revenge when they returned to this world, so he had always been hesitant about whether or not he should let them return to this world. According to Suing Tian, weren't the cultivators the gospel of this world? With the cultivators, this country could once again soar and stand at the peak of the world? If the cultivators returned to this world, wouldn't it be of great benefit to the country? Tang Jing couldn't help but ask. Logically speaking, that should be the case, but the world is changing. After all, after so many years, we can't figure out what the cultivators have become, so we have to be cautious about this matter. Moreover, the cultivators have already been expelled. How can they return to this world? Didn't the demon god come back from the sky beyond? Tang Zheng reminded. Suing Tian waved his hand. He did not take it to heart, and insisted, that's just an example. It's impossible for cultivators to return on a large scale. Tang Zheng understood that the demon god could use the mountain river blood sacrifice array to summon the demon clan back, but the officials did not know about it, and Li Xiaotian did not tell the officials about it. Otherwise, Suing Tian would not be so confident that the cultivators would not return on a large scale. Tang Zheng thought about it, but did not tell the other party this news, because words were not proof. He could not determine the true attitude of the officials towards the cultivators just based on these words. The officials were very cunning. What if Suing Tian was just throwing a smoke bomb, and did not have good intentions towards the cultivators? They had to be careful. Actually, the martial artists are very powerful now. If there is a balance between the cultivators, it is actually good for the country. Suing Tian added. Cultivators and martial artists are like fire and water. I'm afraid there is no chance for them to get along peacefully. Tang Zheng said. It's better to have a balance when there is a struggle. Suing Tian did not care. Tang Zheng understood, this was the official's favorite way to balance, letting the two forces fight each other, and he would benefit from it. However, the officials miscalculated one thing: the cultivators were stronger than they thought. Whether it was martial artists or their self-proclaimed powerful technology, they might not be a match for the cultivators. Tang Zheng did not need to remind the other party. This would instead make them be on guard against the cultivators. Let's return to the main topic. What is going on with that big tree? Suing Tian said. It is called the Tree of Life. It is said to be the origin of all living things. It can emit pure spiritual energy, improving the environment and air between heaven and earth. Tang Zheng paused for a moment, suddenly having a strange idea. He laughed involuntarily. Maybe, the haze that shrouds everywhere will gradually dissipate under the influence of the Tree of Life. Suing Tian was slightly startled, and seriously said, does it really have such a miraculous effect? You must have seen the yellow sand under the Tree of Life. There is already green grass growing on it. This cannot be faked. Tang Zheng reminded. Suing Tian sighed emotionally and said, let me tell you, these few days the grass is still spreading outwards. According to the experts, it will not be long before the boundless desert becomes a grassland, suitable for humans to live in. Tang Zheng cried out in surprise and said, it seems that the effect is better than I expected, so it really is not a lie to say that it will improve the air. Perhaps the Tree of Life will be able to solve the problems of the Environmental Protection Department. Chapter 527. Tang Zheng did not care whether the Ministry of Environmental Protection officials were happy or not, but thought of another situation. The Tree of Life improved the air, and the spiritual energy between heaven and earth would become more and more abundant. This way, cultivators would be able to cultivate faster, and this continent would be more suitable for cultivators to cultivate. It was equivalent to preparing the external conditions for cultivators to return. Could it be that this was the will of the heavens, borrowing his hand to create such a good condition for cultivators? Suing Tian clearly did not think of this point, and continued to ask, what other magical aspects does the Tree of Life have? I don't know, you will have to find out for yourselves. Tang Zheng spread out his hands and said helplessly. At that time, there were two other people that appeared in the base. One of them was your old acquaintance, Marshall, while the other person's identity was mysterious. I was actually unable to find out anything about her. I heard that they also came to Changheng City. Do you know who they are? Suing Tian could not help but ask Lan Yu, whom he had only met once, as if it was still fresh in his memory. I don't know. Tang Zheng replied expressionlessly. Suing Tian looked at him deeply, but did not delve deeper, only reminding him, this woman is not simple. We are unable to determine how high her cultivation is, but I can tell you one thing. When you were trapped in the cave, she once broke into the base and started a massacre. Moreover, she was aiming for you. I only found out about this later. Tang Zheng's heart moved. She actually broke into the base for him, and even started a massacre. This was something he did not expect. One of the dragon group's mecha was destroyed by her hands. If you meet her, do not lower your guard. Suing Tian warned. Tang Zheng's head thumped. The opponent's strength was too strong. Tang Zheng had to use a Herculean effort, and even had to use the four symbols venerable to defeat the mecha, but the opponent was able to do this alone. It was not easy. Then she was determined to improve her relationship with Tang Zheng. What could he do? Could he forcefully drive her away? The opponent was so powerful, he might not be able to do this. I wonder where she went. He subconsciously started to think, but he did not think that Lan Yu would have gone to find her grandfather directly. Lan Yu personally visited the recycle bin. When she stood in front of the mountain of junk, she couldn't help but frown. She was a bit of a clean freak. If it were in the past, she would never have come here. But now, she had no choice but to come. Besides, she also wanted to see the old man who had painstakingly raised Tang Zheng. She held her breath and walked into the yard of the recycling station. It had been expanded a lot. This was the result of the hard work of Tang Dahai and a group of old fellows in the past 6 months. Their recycle bin was doing very well. Even if Tang Dahai was taken away, a few old fellows were struggling to maintain it. Seeing that Tang Dahai had returned, the group of old fellows seemed to have found their backbone again. They rushed to tell each other and were overjoyed. Excuse me, is Mr. Tang Dahai around? Lan Yu took the initiative to ask. The group of old fellows in the yard all turned around and looked at the two strangers. Without a doubt, Lan Yu and Wu's temperament was incompatible with the environment. With a single glance, they could tell that the other party's identity was not ordinary. Many old fellows immediately became uneasy. They looked at the two of them uneasily and then looked at Tang Dahai. Tang Dahai walked out and suspiciously looked at the two of them and said, I am Tang Dahai. Why are you looking for me? In the past 6 months, after Tang Zheng had consumed the life-continuing pill, he was in high spirits. Moreover, his life had greatly improved and his temperament had also undergone a great change. If he were to walk out alone, he would definitely not be treated as an old man picking up junk. However, the honest smile that he was born with still hung on his face. Lan Yu stared at Tang Dahai, as if she wanted to see every detail of him clearly. Although Tang Dahai had changed a lot, the meticulous Lan Yu could still see the traces left behind by the burden of life on his body. Lan Yu took the initiative to extend her hand and politely said, Old man, hello, my name is Lan Yu. Nice to meet you. Tang Dahai politely said, May I ask who you are? What business do you have with me? Lan Yu glanced at the others and said in a low voice, Can we find a place to talk? Tang Dahai muttered to himself for a moment, then led the way, Please follow me. Leading the two of them to the door of a room, Lan Yu gave Wu a look. Wu nodded in understanding and stood at the door with his arms crossed, like a door god. The others whispered to each other, discussing who these two people were to put on such airs. Tang Dahai was also guessing the other party's identity. He poured a cup of water for Lan Yu and asked straightforwardly, Can we talk now? Lan Yu's expression became serious and said, Old man, I want to hear the details of how you picked up Tang Zheng. Little Zheng. Tang Dahai was startled, his expression became strange. This is already an adult's past, it's not worth mentioning. But I'm very interested. I wonder if old master can let me get what I want. Lan Yu looked at the other party with a burning gaze, and asked without giving up. Tang Dahai was not an idiot. Now that so many things had happened, and the other party was obviously here for Tang Zheng, he immediately thought wrongly. He thought that the other party was here to cause trouble for Tang Zheng again, which was why he wanted to get to the bottom of the matter. The old man's heart was filled with a rare anger, and he said indignantly, are you people done yet? How did my grandson offend you? Why do you want to kill him? Lan Yu was startled for a moment, then immediately understood that Tang Dahai had misunderstood her. She felt a little sad, but also a little relieved. At least Tang Dahai was truly concerned about Tang Zheng, and this relationship between grandfather and grandson was not the least bit fake. Lan Yu was not angry, but instead gently explained, "Old man, you misunderstood. I am not here to deal with Tang Zheng. I have no ill intentions towards him, towards you." "Heng, you still want to lie to me? Seeing that you are so beautiful, why do you like to lie so much? Let me tell you, you can't lie, you will suffer the consequences of your own actions in the future." Tang Dahai sincerely taught. "Old master, I am telling the truth. I have no ill intentions towards Tang Zheng, and will protect him at all costs," Lan Yu said with certainty. Tang Dahai was stunned, and looked at the other party dumbfoundedly, and asked in bewilderment, "You are not one of those people who came to cause trouble for little Zheng?" Lan Yu shook her head, "Of course not." "Then who are you?" Lan Yu hesitated for a moment, and said, "I am his biological mother." "Ah!" Tang Dahai cried out in alarm, and jumped up from his chair. He stared at Lan Yu in disbelief, and stammered, You. For a long time, he was unable to say a word. In fact, he had fantasized that Tang Zheng's family would come to find him, but after waiting for nearly 20 years, not a single person came to find Tang Zheng. In the end, he no longer held any hope, and guessed that maybe when the other party abandoned Tang Zheng, they never thought that they would come to find him again. But at this moment, a living person stood in front of him, and said that she was Tang Zheng's biological mother. How could he not be surprised? Outside the house, a group of old fellows heard Tang Dahai's scream, and looked at each other at the same time, thinking that maybe the woman wanted to harm the old fellow. The group of people became excited, and shouted as they rushed forward, "You are not allowed to hurt old Tang, or else we old fellows will fight it out with you." Wu stood at the door, and with one man guarding the pass, 10,000 people could not get through. Who could break through, but she did not make a move on these people, and only used a gentle force to shake them all away. Hearing the shouting outside the door, Tang Dahai hurriedly said that he was fine, and told everyone to disperse and not to worry about him. Only then did the group of old fellows give up. Tang Dahai finally calmed down, and his eyes became very complicated. He bitterly asked, "Why is it that after so many years, all of you did not ask about little Zheng, and only came to find him now? Do you know how much he wanted you to come find him when he was young, so that he could have a father and mother, and a complete family?" Hearing this, Lan Yu's brows revealed a pained expression, and said, "I always thought that he was no longer in this world, but the heavens pitied him, and let him meet a kind person like you." No longer in this world? If I hadn't accidentally picked him up back then, I'm afraid that he really wouldn't be in this world anymore. Tang Dahai said snappily. "Yes, this is all my fault. Back then, I didn't protect him well, and was a villain who harmed him. This is all because I didn't fulfill my responsibility as a mother. Old master, no matter if you scold me or hit me, I won't have a single word of complaint, because I brought this upon myself." Lan Yu was dejected, and said with tears in her eyes, "Someone wants to harm him? But he's still a baby. Who could be so heartless?" Tang Dahai would not hit or scold her, but he was shocked by this news. Lan Yu shook her head. "It's hard to explain what happened back then. The child was stolen from me. At that time, I had just given birth to him, and my body was weak, so I didn't have the strength to protect him. That's why the villain took advantage of this opportunity. Too vicious, to actually make a move on a baby. If I were to meet him, I would risk my old bones to get an explanation for little Zheng." Tang Dahai was so angry that his face turned red, and he said indignantly. Seeing him reveal his sincere feelings, Lan Yu said from the bottom of her heart, "He is more fortunate to have a grandfather like you than a mother like me. You are more competent than me. No wonder his feelings for you are so deep, and he isn't even willing to say a word to me, let alone forgive me." Hearing this, Tang Dahai's heart thumped, and he nervously asked, "You've seen little Zheng?" Lan Yu dejectedly nodded her head, "But he doesn't want to see me at all. This mother of mine is really the world's biggest failure of a mother. Hearing this, Tang Dehai suddenly felt a little frightened. His grandson was his only support, and had been his spiritual support for all these years. Now that his family had found him, his grandson was no longer his, but someone else's. Chapter 528. Lan Yu's eyes were sharp and her hands were quick. She immediately supported him and called out, "Old master, what happened to you?" Tang Dehai was hit by this sudden turn of events. He fainted and lost consciousness. Unable to wake him up, Lan Yu was deeply afraid that he would have an accident. Then, she really didn't want to recognize Tang Zheng, so she hurriedly picked up the old man and rushed out. "Let's go to the hospital." When the other old fellows saw this, they turned pale with fright. "What did you do to old Tang? If you dare to hurt him, his grandson little Zheng will not let you off." Wu was also stunned for a moment. He thought to himself, could it be that mistress had injured him? She didn't have time to think about it carefully. Seeing that her mistress had already rushed out of the courtyard, she quickly chased after her. Tang Zheng and Su Yingtian parted ways. Su Yingtian returned to Beijing with the information he needed. He also wanted to fulfill the promise he made to Tang Zheng and get Xing Feng to stop fighting for the time being. Tang Zheng had just walked to the entrance of the neighborhood when he saw an old man rushing over. He recognized that this man was one of his grandfather's old friends. "Little Zheng, something big happened to your grandfather and he was sent to the hospital." The old man's face was red as he said breathlessly. Tang Zheng's expression suddenly changed, and he hurriedly asked, "What happened to my grandfather?" "Two women came to look for him today. I don't know what happened in the room. Your grandfather was carried out and unconscious. The others have already chased him to the hospital. I specially came to inform you." "Two women?" Tang Zheng's eyes flashed. He guessed that it must be that woman and Wu. Speaking of which, he still did not know what that woman's name was. However, at this moment, he did not have a good impression of these two people, only a burning anger. They actually went crazy and attacked his grandfather. That was absolutely unforgivable. He immediately hailed a taxi and sped to the hospital. At the entrance of the hospital, he immediately saw Wu. Wu also saw him and quickly walked over to welcome him. However, before she could even open her mouth, she saw Tang Zheng attack. This move was extremely sharp. Marshall hurriedly blocked it, but with a muffled bang, she flew out like a kite with a broken string, fiercely crashing into the wall. Tang Zheng didn't give the other party a chance to speak. His anger exploded. When the others saw his murderous look, they all kept quiet out of fear. Tang Zheng coldly snorted. He did not care about Wu at all. Moreover, this move could not harm her life, it was just a small lesson. Ignoring Marshall, who was struggling to get up, Tang Zheng had already rushed through the door. Marshall's face was pale, a trace of blood flowed from the corner of his mouth. He resisted the roiling blood and shouted weakly, "8th floor of the inpatient department." Tang Zheng ignored her kind reminder. He couldn't wait to take the elevator. He rushed up the stairs like a whirlwind and went straight to the 8th floor. From afar, he saw an old friend of his grandfather walking out of a ward. He immediately ran over and saw his grandfather lying on the bed. There were a few people around the bed, and Lan Yu was among them. "You woman, what a vicious heart. I want to take revenge for my grandfather." He rushed towards Lan Yu like a madman, his fingers like a sword, attacking Lan Yu. Lan Yu raised her head to look at him, her face revealing a pleasantly surprised expression. When she saw him crazily attacking her, she did not dodge, nor did she counterattack. She allowed this fierce attack to hit her body. She took a small step back, but the corner of her mouth carried a gentle smile as she looked kindly at Tang Zheng. Tang Zheng's originally prepared continuous attacks came to an abrupt end. He did not expect that the other party would not resist at all. From beginning to end, he had a kind smile on his face. This smile seemed to have a magical power, causing his following moves to instantly collapse and be unable to be used. "You. Why didn't you fight back? Could it be that you know you're in the wrong? Lan Yu gently said, I won't do anything to my own child. This is a mother's instinct. But you hurt my grandfather. This is unforgivable. Tang Zheng's killing intent soared. He was about to make a move when he heard two voices shout in unison, stop. Wu stood at the door, panicking. He leaped in front of his master's wife to protect her. He flew into a rage. Tang Zheng, you sure have guts. You dare to make a move on your master's wife. Little Zheng, you absolutely can't. This is disgraceful. Tang Dahai, who was lying on the bed, had already woken up. Seeing this scene, he bitterly cried out. Hearing his grandfather's voice, Tang Zheng was wild with joy. He turned around and pounced towards his grandfather. Seeing that his grandfather's face was pale, but his life was not in danger, he let out a big sigh of relief. He held his grandfather's hand and asked with concern, Grandfather, how are you? Where did she hurt you? Little Zheng, you almost made a big mistake. How could you make a move on her? Tang Dahai anxiously said. She hurt grandfather. Of course I have to make a move. Tang Zheng said without thinking. Who said she hurt me? I just fainted. It's not her fault. You misunderstood her. Tang Dahai explained. Misunderstanding? Tang Zheng was stunned. He had a strong first impression and actually wronged the other party. He turned his head to look at Lan Yu and Wu. Lan Yu still had a smile on his face, without the slightest bit of resentment. However, Wu was indignant as he fiercely glared at Tang Zheng. Since it was a misunderstanding, why didn't she dodge? Little Zheng, this lady might be your family. How could you make a move on her? Lan Yu heard this and generously waved his hand and said, It doesn't matter. If he hits me, I will willingly accept it. Master's wife, you. Wu Zheng wanted to refute but was stopped by Lan Yu, causing Wu to stare at Tang Zheng with dissatisfaction. Old friends, you guys go back first. This is a small matter of our family. I've troubled everyone. Tang Dahai persuaded the others to leave and the ward quieted down. Little Zheng, I have something to say to you. Didn't you always want to have a father and mother when you were young? Now that your family has found you, you've gotten what you wanted. Tang Dahai squeezed out a smile, but it had a bitter taste. My family only has you, grandfather. You were the one who raised me. It has nothing to do with anyone else. Tang Zheng immediately retorted. Tang Dahai's face darkened and said, Nonsense. How did I teach you since you were young? In life, one must first be filial. No matter how great a person's achievements are, if they do not know filial piety, then they are not considered a person. Your life was given to you by your parents, so you must be filial to your parents. But they have already abandoned me. The only reason I didn't die was because I met grandfather, so my life was already returned to them when they abandoned me. Tang Zheng said resolutely and decisively. Tang Dahai flew into a rage. He blew at his beard and stared, berating, outrageous. If they did not give you life, would you have met me? Would you have been able to see this wonderful world? So, in the end, you have to thank your parents for giving birth to you. I only have the grace of raising you. Tang Dahai previously fainted because he could not accept the fact that Tang Zheng was leaving him. Because Tang Zheng was his motivation to live on. But now that he had recovered, although he still could not bear to part with Tang Zheng, the principle of right and wrong in his bones prevented him from doing anything that went against the principle of righteousness. What was righteousness? The grace of his parents was a great grace. This was his righteousness. No matter what, he would not go against it. He also did not want Tang Zheng to go against it and bear the infamy of being a traitor. This was Tang Dahai's most simple way of thinking. As a grandfather, he had the most sincere feelings for his grandson. Even if he felt wronged in his heart, he still had to protect his grandson. In my heart, grandfather's grace of raising me is greater than the grace of giving birth to me. Tang Zheng straightened his neck and said unyieldingly. Nonsense, you want to anger me to death? Tang Dahai raised his hand and wanted to slap him, but he could not. He could not bear to. Looking at his grandfather's angry and sad appearance, Tang Zheng was in so much pain that he wished he was dead. Lan Yu was previously worried that the old man would make things difficult for her, but now she realized that she was really measuring the heart of a gentleman with the yardstick of a villain. Although the old man did not read many books and did not have much experience, he was more righteous than many of the so-called dignified gentlemen. He had a simple and kind heart. In comparison, Lan Yu could not help but feel inferior. Old man, don't say any more. This is not little Zheng's fault. He is right, it is all my fault. As a mother, I was unable to protect my child. This is a mother's dereliction of duty. I do not have the qualifications to ask for anything else. Lan Yu suddenly knelt in front of Tang Dahai, tears flickering in her eyes as she said in a tearful voice. Master's wife, you absolutely cannot. Wu was shocked. In her heart, her master's wife had always been high and mighty, but at this moment, she was kneeling in front of an old man who did not know martial arts. She wanted to pull her master's wife up, but the other party was like a huge boulder, not moving at all. Tang Zheng was also a little surprised, and the anger that had been accumulating couldn't help but decrease a little. Tang Dahai was shocked, and immediately resisted the urge to sit up, pulling Lan Yu with all his might, shouting, you can't, I am an old man, how can you kneel to me? Hurry up and get up, get up. Lan Yu did not move at all, and said emotionally, old man, you are little Zheng's grandfather, so you are my elder, so it is natural for me to kneel to you. Moreover, you raised him up, so even if I were to kneel in front of you, I would not be able to repay this kindness. Sigh, you're exaggerating. Quickly get up, little Zheng, what are you in a daze for? Quickly help your mother up. Tang Dahai ordered. Although Tang Zheng was unwilling, seeing that his grandfather was about to get angry, he reluctantly supported Lan Yu. Lan Yu looked at him in a daze, but still did not move. Tang Zheng fiercely used his strength, but the other party was still as steady as a rock. Only now did he understand that Su Yingtian was not lying, her strength was truly unfathomable, and he was definitely not her opponent. Just now, she could easily dodge his attack, but she did not dodge. Old man, this is what I should do. I kneel down, not only to thank you for your kindness, but also to atone for my own sins. Lan Yu said. What sin? What sin? If you still want to kneel, then I will also get off the bed and kneel. Tang Dahai had never been kneeled in his life. Chapter 529. Tang Dahai did not like others kneeling to him, nor was he willing to kneel to others. Moreover, how could he, who was simple in his bones, accept such a big gift? Lan Yu was forced to stand up and support Tang Dahai. Old man, lie down first. Don't tire yourself out. Tang Dahai let out a long breath, the corner of his mouth squeezed out a smile and said, you mother and son have reunited. Have a good chat first. I have nothing to talk about with her. Tang Zheng said with a straight face. Who said there is nothing to talk about? We must talk. Tang Dahai said firmly. Tang Zheng was helpless as he did not want to go against his grandfather's orders. Lan Yu said with a smile, old man, since the child is not willing, I will not force him. How am I forcing him? This child is usually very obedient, but at critical times he likes to be stubborn with a bull's temper. This is all because I did not teach him well. Tang Dahai said with a calm face. Old man, you are modest. It is because you taught him well that he has today's achievements. Lan Yu said from the bottom of her heart. Although Tang Dahai did not have much culture and was a rough person, and the conditions were so difficult, teaching a child like Tang Zheng was indeed a feat that many wealthy families could not achieve. The corner of Tang Dahai's mouth revealed a trace of a relieved smile as he kindly looked at Tang Zheng. With your words, then my 20 years of hard work have not been in vain. Seeing his grandfather's attitude, Tang Zheng knew that he could not avoid it this time. He said to Lan Yu in a bad mood, come out and talk. Lan Yu was flattered and hurriedly nodded, okay, let's go out and talk. Tang Dehai did not forget to remind him, little Zheng, speak properly. Don't put on a bitter face, understand? Tang Zheng reluctantly squeezed out a smile at his grandfather and walked out of the ward with Lan Yu. When they arrived at the stairwell, he looked at her with an unkind expression and said, I don't know what you are planning. You actually went to find my grandfather and angered him to the point of being hospitalized. Do you think I will forgive you? Lan Yu's face was full of shame. She took a deep breath and said, Child, I don't dare to ask for your forgiveness. Before I went to find the old man, I didn't think that things would turn out like this. This is my fault. I apologize to you. Looking at her sincere expression, Tang Zheng could not help but think of the martial order sect master. These two people seemed to be very different. The martial order sect master always had a straight face and did not smile, giving Tang Zheng the impression that he was cold and heartless. However, Lan Yu really had too much of a motherly radiance. He had made things difficult for her time and time again, and even attacked her, but she did not complain at all. Instead, she took the initiative to admit her mistakes and ask for forgiveness. Everyone's heart was made of flesh. Tang Zheng's tone also softened a little. Then what exactly do you want? I just want to see you. I want to hear how you've been through all these years. I want to have another me in your life from now on. Lan Yu said expectantly. Tang Zheng frowned and asked, You're so sure that I'm your son? Of course. Perhaps before I saw you, I would have doubted it. However, after seeing you, this feeling of connection between mother and son will not lie to me. Hang, how come I don't feel it? Tang Zheng said without any trace of politeness. You will feel it in the future. Lan Yu said without any objection. Then why did you abandon me in the past? This was the question that Tang Zheng was most confused about. When he was young, he had asked the sky many times, but no one answered him. Even though he was now an adult, he still wanted to know the answer to this question. It's a long story. In short, as a mother, I did not protect my own child. This is my fault. Lan Yu did not try to defend herself. Instead, she took the blame. I don't need such a general answer. I want a detailed answer. Tang Zheng was not satisfied. Don't worry, I will tell you the whole story. This is related to the martial order's complicated matters. It is not something that can be explained in a few words. Moreover, this is related to the safety of your life in the future. In the future? Could it be that I'm still in danger? Tang Zheng was flabbergasted. Lan Yu nodded, yes. Back then, someone wanted to harm you. Although the main culprit is no longer in this world, he still has some remnants. If he knows that you are still in this world, I'm afraid that he will not let this matter rest and will harm you. Tang Zheng laughed coldly and said, Back then, I was just a baby in swaddling clothes. You could decide my life and death at will. However, I am no longer a lamb waiting to be slaughtered. If you want to kill me, it won't be that easy. To be honest, although he did not remember what happened back then, the other party had actually made a move on a baby who did not know anything. This enmity was too great. Tang Zheng would not turn a blind eye to it. Even if the other party did not come looking for him, he would not let them go. Seeing him make such a solemn vow, Lan Yu's face revealed a gratified expression. She praised, You've really grown up. Don't worry. Back then, I was weak after giving birth, which gave the bad people a chance to take advantage of me. Now, if anyone wants to harm you, they will have to step over my dead body first. Tang Zheng's eyebrows jumped. Her tone and expression were definitely not right. If anyone really wanted to deal with Tang Zheng, she would not hesitate to give up her life to protect him. Tang Zheng was somewhat moved. He was a person who knew how to be grateful. How could he not be moved when a person was so good to him? However, when he thought of the fact that he was abandoned back then, Tang Zheng's heart became stone again. He still had a straight face and asked, Then who wanted to harm me back then? Who wants to harm me now? Lan Yu hesitated for a moment and said, Martial Organization's Sect Master. Martial Organization's Sect Master? Didn't Marshall say that I was his son? No, it's not the current Sect Master, but the previous Sect Master. When I gave birth to you, he said that you were not suited to practice martial arts. Instead, you had the 9-yang saint body that only appears once in 1,000 years. This is a very suitable physique for cultivators. The martial organization's mission is to kill all the cultivators in the world. He immediately decided to kill you to prevent you from becoming a powerful cultivator that can threaten martial artists in the future. Tang Zhang's heart was in turmoil. The previous martial organization's sect master really had a pair of fiery eyes. He actually recognized his physique. Moreover, he knew too much. He knew that this kind of rare physique would not be small and would threaten the existence of the martial organization. The previous sect master decided to sacrifice your little life in order to prevent the martial organization from being ridiculed by the world. All of this was done behind my back. By the time I found out, it was already too late. I thought that you had already fallen under his evil hands. Lan Yu said in agony. Why didn't I die? Why did I come to this ordinary balance? Lan Yu shook her head. I don't know either. I'm afraid that only one person knows the answer. Who? Your birth father, my husband, the current martial organization's sect master. Him. Tang Zheng could not help but recall that stern face. From his eyes, he could see the kindness of a father. On the contrary, it was the decisiveness of a superior. Why is he the only one who knows? Because of the jade pendant on your body. That jade pendant is the keepsake of the successor of the martial organization's sect master. Back then, your father was the successor of the martial organization's sect master. This jade pendant was always with him. Later on, it appeared on your body. Therefore, only he knows what happened back then. Lan Yu also wanted to know the answer. She could not wait to fly back and ask her husband clearly. Then where did the previous sect master go? Towards this enemy, Tang Zheng could not ignore it. He's already dead. Humph, he got lucky. Since he's dead, why do you say that I'm still in danger? Although he's dead, his influence still exists. Although the martial sect has a new sect master, many old people are still thinking about the old sect master. If they knew that you weren't dead, these old people would definitely not let this matter rest. Tang Zheng frowned and said, that's not right. Since that's the case, then why is this sect master still thinking about it and asking Wu to do everything he can to get me to go to the martial sect? Isn't this throwing himself into a trap? This. I know that too. Lan Yu shook her head. Tang Zheng rolled his eyes, and with a flash of inspiration, he said, could it be that he wants to kill me like the previous sect master? But in the next moment, he rejected this thought. If the other party really wanted to make a move on him, then he wouldn't have sacrificed his martial arts to save his life in the 10,000 huge mountains. No, he's your father after all. How could he do anything to you? As expected, Lan Yu immediately retorted. Tang Zheng was unable to calm down after all. He asked snappily, back then, your body was weak and you couldn't protect me. Could it be that his body is also weak? No, you don't know how powerful the old sect master is. No one is his match. In the martial sect, his words carry weight. Even the successor doesn't dare to go against him. Humph, could it be that if the other party wanted to kill his son, he would turn a blind eye to it? Tang Zheng asked disdainfully. Lan Yu was speechless. Although Tang Zheng was furious, his interest was also piqued. Back then, this matter was undoubtedly a secret of the martial sect, and no one else would know about it. Since he was involved, then he had to get to the bottom of it. No matter what happened back then, in short, this was too cruel to an infant child. Today, you guys are spouting nonsense, so don't think that I can easily forgive you guys. Furthermore, my surname is Tang now, not any other surname. Tang Zheng said resolutely. Right. What is the current martial sect master called? He was an orphan adopted by the old sect master. He followed the old sect master's surname Wu and was named Jun Shan. However, very few people know this name. Lan Yu said. Wu Jun Shan. Tang Jing muttered and said happily, fortunately, I didn't stay in the martial sect. Otherwise, using this surname would be a lifetime of shame. Seeing him so resolute, Lan Yu didn't correct him. Perhaps, in her heart, she also had a natural resistance to this surname. Child, it's impossible for your identity to be hidden from too many people. As long as they know about this matter, they definitely won't let it go. So, from now on, you have to stay by my side so that I can protect you, Lan Yu warned. I don't need your protection. Tang Jing flatly refused. Lan Yu stubbornly said, I know you are angry at me, and I also know that you are very powerful. However, the enemy cannot be underestimated. When they join forces, the explosive power will put you in danger. I have the responsibility and the obligation to protect you. Just treat this as making up for my mistake back then. Tang Jing didn't appreciate her kindness and coldly said, there is no need. Counter soldiers with arms, water with an earth weir. I have been like this for so many years, and I will be like this in the future. Chapter 530. Tang Dehai struggled to get out of bed and walked towards the door. Coincidentally, he saw Tang Zheng and nervously asked, Little Zheng, how did your talk go? Tang Dehai's heart was very complicated. He wanted Tang Zheng to follow the righteousness, but he was also afraid that he would abandon him. Tang Zheng hurriedly supported him and said, Grandfather, why are you getting out of bed? Go lie down. I'm fine now. Staying in the hospital is too wasteful and expensive. I want to go home. Tang Dehai said, but he looked at Tang Zheng with burning eyes. He was afraid that if he blinked, he would disappear from his eyes and he would never see him again. Seeing that his grandfather was indeed fine, he did not want to stay in the hospital during the new year. He nodded his head in agreement. Did you have a good talk? The old man was still concerned about this issue. We casually talked for a bit. Let's go home first. You're not going with her? Tang Dehai nervously asked. Tang Zheng was startled. He saw the panic in the depths of his grandfather's eyes and said, Why should I go with her? The old man let out a sigh of relief. His eyes revealed a gratified look. After all, the grandson that he brought up was a filial person. He would not abandon this lonely old man. As if relieved of a burden, the sympathy in his heart overflowed. He advised, She is your mother. You have to treat her better. Grandfather, don't worry about these things. I'll go pay first and then go home. Lan Yu walked to the door and said, The money has been paid. Tang Zheng looked at her and did not say anything. He silently helped his grandfather out. At the door, Tang Dehai stopped and said, You came all the way to Ordinary Balance. You don't have a place to stay. Come to our house. Lan Yu's eyes flashed with excitement. If she could spend time with Tang Zheng, it would definitely be beneficial to improve their relationship. But when she saw Tang Zheng frown, she immediately suppressed this idea. If she went to Tang Zheng's house, he would definitely be unhappy. This would be counterproductive. Lan Yu smiled faintly and said, Thank you, old master. Rest well today. I will personally pay you a visit tomorrow. That's fine too. Outsiders are guests. If there's anything you need, please let us know. We'll definitely do our best as hosts. Tang Dehai said enthusiastically. Looking at the two of them walking into the elevator at the entrance of the corridor, Wu frowned and asked, Master's wife, how was your discussion? Although it wasn't very pleasant, this is also a beginning. I have the confidence to make him accept me as his mother again. Lan Yu's face was suffused with a motherly radiance as she said confidently. Wu was a little dazed as he watched. He hesitated and asked, Then should we tell Master about this? Lan Yu's face darkened, and said, Absolutely not. if some people in the martial sect know of little Zhang's existence, then they will definitely not hesitate to assassinate little Zhang. Wu, you must remember this, do you understand? Wu's heart trembled as he nodded and said, don't worry, mistress. I will definitely keep my mouth shut. You can't even tell your master. Yesterday, he contacted me and asked me where I went. I only said that I was going on a sightseeing tour to relieve my boredom. Don't let it slip out of your mouth, Lan Yu warned. Is there a need to hide it from master? Wu was very conflicted. Ever since she was young, she had been taught to follow her master's orders and not hide anything from him. But now, master's wife wanted her to break the rules, which made him unable to accept it. Lan Yu stared straight at Wu and said seriously, Wu, let me tell you, this matter is of great importance. Other than the two of us, even your master must be hidden from us. Why? He's Tang Zhang's father. Lan Yu did not explain, but coldly snorted in her heart. She thought to herself, Xiao Zhang's disappearance all those years ago was related to him. Although she believed that her husband was a person who did not eat his own child, she still had a grudge in her heart. After that incident, a huge crack appeared in the relationship between the husband and wife. They were separated on the surface and had already lived separately. She took care of her own flowers and plants every day without any distractions. She did not care about what her husband was doing and would only occasionally say a few words. This was because she had always blamed her husband for not taking good care of the child. She had even thought that her husband was involved in this dirty matter. In order to smoothly inherit the position of sect master, he compromised with the old sect master and used his own child's life to protect the position of sect master. But no matter what the situation was, it was not easy to completely dispel her doubts. Seeing that his mistress did not reply, Wu was incomparably conflicted. In the end, he comforted himself that his mistress would not harm his master, so he was forced to agree. Li Palace. Li Xiaotian stared blankly at the information in his heart. He could not believe it and muttered to himself, how could he not die? That cave is unfathomably deep, it's impossible for him to survive. What is the background of that towering tree? Why is it that every time Tang Zhang sets foot in a place, such mysterious and unfathomable things will happen? Tang Zhang escaped from death, so it won't be easy to kill him again. Suddenly, she said curiously, strange, why did Wu also run to the ordinary balance, and even run towards Tang Zhang? What's strange is that he actually went with sect master's wife Lan Yu. It is said that Lan Yu has been in the martial sect for decades, never leaving the martial sect. This time, the sun must have risen from the west. She actually left the martial sect for Tang Zhang. What is she doing? Even though Li Xiaotian was meticulous and cunning, he still could not guess the reason. Disciple, what's making you so worried? Suddenly, a slightly old voice sounded from behind her. Li Xiaotian's entire body was startled, as if he had a spring. He immediately shot up from the chair, turned around to look at the person who came, and respectfully bowed. Palace Master, you've come out of seclusion? Yes, this time seclusion was very fruitful. What made you so worried? This kind of situation is rare. An old woman walked in from outside the door. She did not have a fierce aura, just like an old woman from the countryside. Her silver hair was coiled on top of her head, and she supported herself with a walking stick. She staggered over and sat on the chair. This was the famous palace lord of the Li Palace. In a different environment, if others saw her, they would definitely not associate her with the palace lord of the Li Palace, because she was too ordinary. Ordinary to the point that she could be submerged in a crowd, unable to stir up a single bubble. When the fearless Li Xiaotian faced this seemingly ordinary Li Palace master, he changed from his usual arrogance, and was as obedient as a little tabby cat. Reporting to Palace Master, this time I encountered a difficult problem. I originally thought that as a person, would have no chance of surviving, but he miraculously survived. Li Xiaotian said in a deep voice. Oh, who has such great ability? Tang Zhang. I remember you mentioning him before. Yes, he is a cultivator, and an extremely powerful one with great potential. Thus, I decided to eliminate him. Then it seems that you consider him a threat? Yes, an enormous threat. Li Xiaotian nodded. The palace master's old eyes slightly narrowed, and said, "For you to be so afraid, he is indeed not an ordinary person." Yes, even the martial organization's sect master's wife, Lan Yu, has gone to find him. Lan Yu? The palace master's hand holding the walking stick tightened involuntarily. She raised the corner of her eyes, and there seemed to be a flash of light in her dim eyes. Yes, this is the information I just received. It is said that Lan Yu, for the sake of Tang Zheng, went on a killing spree and caused a ruckus in the Dragon Group's base. At that time, if I had left a bit later, perhaps I would have met her. Li Xiaotian said. Lan Yu has not left the martial organization for dozens of years, but she actually made an exception for one person. Interesting. Pass down the order, we must investigate the ins and outs of this matter. Lan Yu, this woman, cannot be underestimated, and we must avoid alerting the enemy. I want to know what medicine she is selling in her gourd. Yes. In addition, I will be leaving for a few days. During this time, you will continue to take care of the daily affairs of the Li Palace in my place. The palace master warned. Li Xiaotian asked doubtfully, "Palace master, why are you leaving the palace this time? Can this disciple go with you?" The palace master casually glanced at her, and Li Xiaotian felt as if she had fallen into an ice cave. It was as if 10,000 swords were hanging over her head, and could fall at any time and pierce her full of holes. She was in fear and trepidation, and hurriedly said, "This disciple is concerned about the palace master, and has no other intentions." "Humph, just do your job well. Don't ask what you shouldn't ask," the palace master said coldly. Although she still seemed old and senile, and did not even have the slightest trace of a king's aura, Li Xiaotian felt fear from the bottom of her heart. This was because she was too clear about the palace master's temperament and powerful strength. She could not even think of resisting. Yes, this disciple will remember. The palace master stood up, supported herself with her walking stick, and hobbled out. Watching the palace master walk away, the chill on Li Xiaotian's body gradually dissipated. She straightened her body and returned to being the cold and black-bellied holy maiden of the Li Palace. Every year at this time, Master leaves the palace alone. No one knows what she's going to do. This secret truly makes one curious. I don't know when I'll learn of this secret. Li Xiaotian softly muttered to herself. The palace master left the Li Palace and walked on the mountain road. The rugged mountain road was like flat ground under her feet. With a casual tap of her walking stick, she traversed several meters, leaving behind only a shadow on the mountain road, and then floated down the mountain. 3 days later, she arrived at a mountain stream. A clear spring flowed down from the top of the mountain, forming a small lake. The lake water was clear, like a dark green gem. It adorned the mountains and added a quiet and secluded feeling, causing one to be intoxicated by the beautiful scenery of the lake and mountains. On a rock beside the lake, a person sat quietly. He wore a bamboo hat and a straw raincoat on his back. He was like a statue, motionless. His hand held a fishing rod, and a thin fishing line sank into the lake. However, there were no fish floating on the surface of the lake. It was unknown how he determined whether or not a fish had taken the bait. The Li Palace master walked straight to the fisherman and stopped behind him. However, the fisherman remained motionless, as if he did not hear her footsteps. He stared intently at the lake. Chapter 531. The green light that swept towards Elder Angler was extremely sharp and powerful, bringing with it a series of sonic booms. The Li Palace princess did not move, not even interested in looking at it, as if she knew that this azure light could not harm Elder Angler in the slightest. Elder Angler shook his wrist and used the fishing rod to block in front of him. The azure light struck the fishing rod, causing a burst of blood. With a sharp scream, the azure light hurriedly dove into the water. "Evil creature, I've been waiting for you for many days. Do you want to run away like this?" Elder Angler softly muttered as he swung the fishing rod back. The fishing line danced, and just as the azure light was about to sink into the water, it was fiercely smashed into the ground by the fishing line. This azure light was actually a large azure snake. Its 2 eyes glowed with a dark light, and its sharp fangs were glaring fiercely at Elder Angler. "Evil creature, you've recently injured quite a few mountain animals. Today is the day you die," Elder Angler lightly said. The large snake seemed to understand his words and struggled to swim into the lake. However, its upper jaw was hooked by the fishing hook and it could not escape. With a shake of the fishing line, the large snake lightly smashed into a sharp stone on the ground. With a clatter, its tongue was smashed into pieces, dripping with blood. It struggled for a while, but then it completely stopped moving. Elder Angler shook his wrist, and the fishing line quickly wrapped around the fishing rod. Only then did he turn his head to look at the Lee Palace Master. Outsiders would involuntarily feel fear when facing the Lee Palace Master, but Elder Angler did not move at all. His face was covered by a bamboo hat, so his appearance could not be clearly seen. However, there was no doubt that he was calm and fearless. The Lee Palace Master looked at him and pointed at the corpse of the large snake, asking, "How did you have the leisure to come down the mountain to do such a small thing?" Elder Angler replied, "This is not a small matter. You don't leave the Lee Palace all year round, so you don't know that recently, the world has not been peaceful. There have been many monsters." The Lee Palace Master's eyes flashed with astonishment, asking, "This beast has not become a monster yet, right? Its intelligence has already been developed. Becoming a monster is only a matter of time. It's best to leave early to avoid future troubles." Elder Angler said, "I don't know what's going on in the world, but I heard that the Northeast is even less peaceful. Not only are there monsters, but also people are suffering. Is it really that serious?" Elder Angler didn't answer this question because it was too unnecessary. "Then have you sent someone to the Northeast?" Jin 13 has already gone. Jian Shirsan, the sword god is finally willing to send out his beloved last disciple to carry out a mission. With him going, it will naturally be a piece of cake. The palace master clearly had confidence in this Jian Shirsan. The sword god has been recuperating during this period of time. I believe you have also heard the news. He fought a great battle with that mysterious cultivator and suffered some injuries. Elder Angler said. It is said that the cultivator is called Tian Chanzi. Is the great lord not allowed to avenge the sword god and let him get away with it? The palace master asked curiously. Elder Angler raised his head slightly, revealing a scar. This scar extended from his left cheek to his right cheek, running across his entire face, making him look extremely terrifying. He glanced at the palace lord and said faintly, "The great lord is a great strategist. His every move has his own decisions. Actually, you and I can see through it." The palace master revealed an expression of reverence and said, "That is reasonable. We cannot recklessly guess the great lord's intentions. I will first go see the great lord, so I won't chat with you." The palace master lightly tapped the ground with his walking stick and flew several zhang away. He directly crossed the mountain stream and rushed towards the peak. "Let's go together." Elder Angler lightly spat out these 2 words. With a light shake of his wrist, the fishing line flew out and wrapped around a tree trunk. With a sudden swing, Elder Angler shot out like an arrow. In the next second, he was standing beside the palace master. The 2 of them displayed their respective abilities and climbed up the mountain peak that wasn't too majestic after a short while. At the peak of the mountain, the cold wind was biting cold and the ground was covered with white snow. A black hut stood at the peak of the mountain. There wasn't a single speck of snow on the black hut, which was particularly eye-catching in this vast white world. The 2 stepped on the snow without leaving a trace and arrived in front of the black room. The pitch-black door slowly opened on its own. Elder Angler stopped at the door while the Lee Palace master walked in step by step. The door automatically closed and the room sank into darkness. Whoosh, a flame rose into the air and several oil lamps lit up in the 4 corners of the room, illuminating the black room. This black room was not spacious and empty. It could be said that there were only 4 walls. Other than a chair at the very front, there was nothing else. A person walked out from the darkness and directly sat down on the chair. This person wore a mask and looked deeply at the palace master, saying, "You've come." His voice was desolate and deep, like the ripples of an echo in the valley. There was an indescribable mysterious feeling. The Li Palace master knelt down on one knee and respectfully said, "Greetings, great lord." If the people of the Li Palace saw this scene, they would definitely be scared out of their wits. The palace master, who had always been high and mighty, was actually kneeling down to a masked person. Moreover, it was done willingly and respectfully. "Rise," the great lord said. "Thank you, great lord. You've gained a lot from this time's seclusion. You've actually reached the 8th level of the Great Master Realm. Perhaps, in your lifetime, you can break through the shackles of your body and usher in an unprecedented realm, Martial King," the great lord said with praise. The palace master's face revealed a trace of yearning and said, "This subordinate has always wanted to ask the great lord about something." "You want to ask what it's like to be a martial king, right?" The great lord seemed to be able to see through her heart and asked. The palace master was not surprised in the slightest and said with satisfaction, "Yes. When you reach that realm, you will naturally know." The great lord said unfathomably. The palace master lowered her head and a trace of disappointment flashed across her face. "This time, I was about to give you a mission. I heard that something happened in the martial sect and I need you to go and deal with it," the great lord said. "What happened in the martial sect?" "You will naturally know when you go." The palace master did not dare to ask again. The world is getting more and more complicated. Even the tree of life has reappeared in the world. Are the cultivators really going to return? The great lord said to himself. No way. The palace master's beautiful face turned pale. The cultivators have been expelled. How can they return? Nothing is absolute. In the past, the cultivators could only be expelled because of the favorable conditions. Now the world has changed. It's no longer the same as before. The great lord sighed. Is the great lord worried about Enchanting and the 100 Faces Star Lord? The palace master asked. Enchanting is not a threat. It's just a small matter. The 100 Faces Star Lord should be wary. After all, he is a figure from the Great Desolation era. As the saying goes, old people become shrewd. Don't be fooled by his childlike appearance, his threat is incomparable. The great lord said. The palace master said in a deep voice, this subordinate's disciple has seen this person before. This person is temperamental and is indeed a troublesome guy. Not only is he troublesome, but he is also very smart. He did not rely on his powerful cultivation to rush out of the 10,000 mountains. Instead, he quietly lurked in the 10,000 mountains. Even I have no way of knowing what he is doing. This kind of person is indeed a formidable opponent. At first, I thought he would rush out and was prepared to deal with him. However, all of my plans fell through. The great lord said regretfully. Do you want this subordinate to lure him out? The palace master volunteered. Your little bit of skill cannot withstand a single blow from him. Why send yourself to your death? The great lord chuckled. The palace master did not feel indignant because of this sentence. Instead, he said guiltily, this subordinate is useless. My strength is not enough. I don't blame you. Perhaps this is just my groundless fears. Back then, the martial sect leader had already eliminated the infant. Who else has the ability to let all the cultivators of the sky beyond heaven return? The great lord said suspiciously. The palace master's heart thumped. He could not help but remember the crisis a few decades ago. The martial sect's disciple gave birth to an infant. It was actually the rarely seen nine-yang saint body. From ancient times until now, the nine-yang saint body was a cultivation genius. A person with this kind of physique would undoubtedly become a powerful cultivator in the future. Many mysterious and powerful cultivators were not very worried about the return of cultivators because they were confident that no one could do it. However, they never would have thought that after the cultivators were expelled, there would still be someone with the 9-yang saint body in this world. This really made these powerful cultivators flabbergasted. Fortunately, this infant was known by the cultivators from the moment it was born. This was a fortune in the midst of misfortune. It allowed them to strangle this dangerous factor in the cradle. As a result, they did just that. They painfully made a move on an infant. Of course, the number of people in this world who knew of this matter could be counted on one hand. The palace master thought that the great lord was worrying too much. The infant was already dead. The crisis had already been resolved. Great lord, when will you meet Wu Junshan? The Li Palace and the martial sect were originally your chess pieces. To not let Wu Junshan know of this secret, martial arts has always been outside. It is not beneficial for us to do anything. Soon. Don't look at how Wu Junshan is younger than you. He is more shrewd than you. If I don't see through him, I will not easily show myself. These past few years, I have been observing him. Those old people by his side have also been observing his every word and action. However, these past few years, he has not made any mistakes. Then isn't he worthy of our trust? The great lord chuckled and said, actually, this time I asked you to go to the martial sect for this matter. The martial sect has sent back news that there seems to be a problem within the martial sect. It seems to be related to this sect master. I want you to go and investigate and remove any hidden dangers. The great lord ordered. This subordinate understands. Whether or not Wu Junshan can enter the great lord's eyes will depend on this. His opportunity is right in front of him. It all depends on what he chooses. The palace master said, I hope he does not make the wrong choice. Otherwise, he will be consigned to eternal damnation. The great lord chuckled and declined to comment. The Li Palace master said his goodbyes and left the black room. The door closed once again. Elder Angler was still standing at the door. He glanced at her and said, You're leaving just like that? I am not as idle as you. I have a life of hard work. The palace master made a rare joke, You're tuning into the Romantic Tales YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.